3, 2. Oh my God.
Yo, what's up?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the program.
The Airtime Podcast is presented by Van Shoes since 1966.
There's nothing fake about it. Have something to believe in and be yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Welcome back to the show. Really excited about today's guest. I've known her for a long time. Two-time Rider of the Year, 2016, 2017. Natural Selection winner. She makes snowboard films. She's in them, and she's probably one of the biggest bosses in the backcountry. She's an absolute legend. We have Robin Van Gyn on the show. Thank you for coming on. How you been?
Really good. Thanks for having me. That was a really nice intro. I'm
You're like, wait, did I do all that?
Yeah. Was that me? Cool.
Plus, like, you probably have more than, like, how many video parts do you think you filmed?
I have no idea.
Lots.
I think lots.
I think you're in the 15 plus marker.
I don't know. Somewhere around there.
When did you start filming?
I'm like, maybe when I was about 25.
So, like, 2006?
Yeah. 2006. I would say there was a couple years where I didn't quite make a video part because I didn't land enough or I remember I had a year where I was just bummed.
Oof.
Took a full bummer year.
When was the bummer year?
Bummer year. Bummer year was probably like, I want to say when I was 27. It was post runway, pre PS webisodes with Hana, and I had nothing to film for, and I just took a bummer. I was bummed out.
I feel like anybody who's been in snowboard or anything for that matter, you've been in it for almost 20 plus years now. You got to have a couple bummer years. They're going to happen.
You got to have a bummer year.
You got to have a bummer year.
Every once in a while.
Or you don't love it enough.
Yeah, where I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm getting fired from all my sponsors because I'm just taking this year to be a bummer. But I didn't, which is good. I had really understanding people behind me, I guess.
I'll never forget the first time that I ever met you. And the first time I ever met you, I also was filming with you.
Oh, no.
Remember that? We set up a step down on Blackcomb. We were both on Tech 9. It was the first time I ever met you, and my friend Skylar was filming.
Yeah, I know Skylar. Yeah, he's great.
Skylar, he was kind of like the GOAT local Whistler kid showing us around the mountain. He's like, hey, my friend Robin's going to come link up.
Yeah.
And he built us this step down, and we both got bodied on it.
Yeah.
Like, I think we tried like cab fives or front, whatever, a stock-ish tricks, but it was big. It was like a legit step down looking back now. And, I was riding a 149.
Oh, my God.
Getting absolutely thrashed. And looking back now, it's thinking about you on Tech 9 is absolutely hilarious.
It kind of is. Yeah, it kind of is. But I did that. You know, you got to, like, do reach around ways to get to where you want to be, I guess. So I was just happy to have any support at all. I was like, this is the best.
Totally.
Yeah.
Your first free box is that's a good day.
It is a really good day. I actually have, like, a memory of one of my... not my first box, but a box that like meant a lot to me. And I remember like the cardboard opening and pulling out the thing and being like, whoa.
Do you have good, vivid memories? Like,
I do, but it's funny. I have these vivid memories and then everything in between gone. Like a lot of stuff is just not there anymore. And people are like, do you remember this time? And I'm like, no. But yeah, I do have some really good vivid memories.
I have some, and then some get super wishy-washy, and then like some of them are when you get to later years in your life, mid-30s, you see some crazy shit, especially if you're a stunt person like you and me. And then sometimes I wonder if it was real.
Yeah, or if the story changed and you remember it differently. Because I'm pretty sure like a few times I've been like, recalling something and somebody's like, it definitely wasn't, it went like this. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, it's right there. It's vivid, but it changes, I think, I think I've caught myself a few times where I've been like, no, it's definitely this. And then whip out the Google and it definitely wasn't that.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh,
Playing tricks on you.
all right, well.
We'll trust Google over my own memory.
Okay.
It's a computer.
Yeah, it's a computer. It knows. So yeah, but you know, it's fun to just remember it how you remember it and whatever.
Have you been in a car crash before?
I have.
Do you remember that?
I do. It was not that gnar, but it was like quite scarring on a more like personal level, on like a life lesson level, because I was with this guy who I was like sort of seeing at the time, and we had been drinking, you know, out at a bar, probably at a hockey game in Calgary.
Go Oilers.
Yeah. Go Oilers. Woo. Bring home the cup tonight. And we left and I was like, I can't drive. I've drank too much. And I was like, you know, pretty wasted. And he was like, oh, I can drive. But like, you can't really trust that, I guess. But I did at the time. And we rear-ended a lady and then like kind of fled the scene. It was like really weird. Like all of a sudden we were like going really fast and then turned around a corner and like pulled over. And then we like the lady like pulled around the corner and was like,
Hey,
you know, hey, like teenagers, like, what do you, you know, I was like 19 or just turned 20 or something. But I think we were really scared of getting caught drunk driving, which we were doing. So there ended up being like, she had like a neck injury. I don't know if it was real or not, but like she seemed fine at the scene. But I get it. Like whiplash can be sneaky like that, you know? And I think the whole rollout of it, and it just went on forever. This like ICBC suing me and who was driving, and was that person like, there was no, you know, like breath test or any of that. And I think we got away with murder on that one, you know, and I to this day regret that whole thing happening, how we acted, what we did, like, but you're kids, you know, and
but
like,
those are the lessons you have to learn.
Yeah.
Hopefully people don't need to learn them anymore, because I feel like our generation was just like, people used to drink and drive still. Like in my high school, like that was just, and then we lost numerous amounts of friends and realized that like you are a way worse driver under the influence. Like so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like 1 beer to 5 beers is like you are going from like you can get home to like you're gonna kill somebody.
Yeah. And it's like lucky we didn't die. You know, I think about that all the time. I'm like, wow, lucky thing. We just got in this like pretty mellow fender bender, and you know, there was like a little bit of, you know, wrist slapping, and I had to like pay ICBC huge sum of money at a young age, which was like, you know, you never do that again.
Totally.
So
you go to your small town, like you're from Victoria.
Yeah.
I'm from outside of Winnipeg. I go home and one of my friends gets caught drinking and they got to blow in the blower thing.
Yeah.
And they had to pay a huge fine and their car got impounded. And if it's bad enough, you can't travel outside of Canada. I feel like if you get a DUI, I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
Do you think Justin Timberlake can come to Canada anymore?
Well, I don't know. I just heard about that. Why do celebrities do that? They get so bored. I don't fucking know. That seems like I don't know. Nobody should drink and drive. I've done it once before. I woke up in the morning. My friend said, how did we get home last night? And I looked at him like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And then my other friend wakes up, my friend Keith, he's like, dude, you drove. You said you were sober. And then my other friend looked at me being like, dude, you drove us? We go outside because we're in my parents' basement. Cars parked like in the grass at a 45-degree angle. I was like, I remember being like, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah.
Ever. Like I could have killed all my friends. And then shortly after, I did lose one of my close friends to drinking and driving, like one of my closest friends. And I was like, okay, like this is real. It's, you know, when you're a kid, you kind of just feel like you're invincible. And then at one point the record stops and you realize that shit actually happens in life.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to pay to make that lesson real.
Yeah, yours was pay.
I had to pay.
Mine was I got away with murder.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, lesson is don't drink and drive, kids. And anybody, don't drink and drive.
No.
But I feel like it's almost a good era or a better era because drinking is like not super popular. There's like other stuff, you know, which, you know, is the same as driving impaired. Impaired driving, really.
Is impaired driving.
It's impaired driving, but you know, I feel like some of the, you know, in our era, there was like the drinking culture was so like strong and heavy, you know, and now it's not as much that. I love that it's cool to be like, you know, sober or, clean, or what do they call it? Like, I don't know what the word is.
I don't know. You just ain't drinking.
Yeah, you ain't drinking.
I like that. It's really pushed into snowboarding too. Like you go to a bar and sometimes it used to be this like, it wasn't even are you drinking? Everyone was drinking.
Yeah.
There's like a certain expectation almost. And now it's like you go to the bar, somebody's smoking a joint, someone doesn't drink at all, somebody's just having a tea.
Yeah.
And and somebody else is getting hammered and you're like, hey, do your thing.
Yeah. Well, I even felt like it was important to drink or party with team managers, team riders, marketing people, because that's how you got to meet them. That's how it was part of the culture. And I do think that, I definitely engaged in a lot of that, and it definitely helped me get to where I am now at that time. But it was part of the culture. It was just like, you got to be in it. And if you weren't in it, then,
Do you think we've changed quite a bit since then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I feel like the ability to engage with people without like partying and drinking is definitely there. And I'm really grateful for that, for like the youth, because, to think of what like say I did in my 20s in snowboarding, I wouldn't take back a day, like for sure. But to think about how like strong and healthy and physically crazy I could have been if I didn't do that, like, I don't know. Or maybe it would just be the same. I don't know. I have no answers.
I enjoyed my time drinking, but I don't recommend everybody did what I did. You know what I mean? It's been done. I really liked what Dano said on the last podcast, actually. He was saying, like, the Form 8's been done. Whiskey and the drinking and the partying's been done. Like, don't try and replicate those things. It's like, just because they happened in the past doesn't mean you need to backtrack and replicate that. Like, if you don't drink and it's this, like, you don't need to anymore. You know what I mean? It's done. You don't have to relive the Wildcats.
We did it for you.
Yeah, we did it for you.
You're welcome.
We did it for you.
We drank it dry. We drank snowboarding dry. There's no more drinks left.
We're out of booze. I wanted to see if you wanted to or you'd be willing to touch on, just because my condolences for you losing your dog, by the way.
Thank you.
Shout outs to Stella. It was a her, right?
It was a her.
It was a her. Met her a handful of times. Definitely know a lot of people in the snowboard community love that dog. I know that you and your partner Austin loved that dog. I recently just got a dog, and when it was the first time I saw a dog post that I really like. Once you have a dog and you see somebody do that post, I grew up with dogs because I grew up on a farm, but it's the first time I've had my own dog.
Yeah.
And like that post, I was like, oh my, like, and then I'm looking at my dog, like, one day you're not gonna be here, and it's like, I couldn't even imagine. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, what was the reason that you got a dog in the first place?
She kind of was a happy accident. I wouldn't say it was an accident, but my aunt Paula, she's a rancher in Colorado. She had been breeding these labs, and I used to go down there quite a bit because, SIA was in Denver, and I ended up going through there to go to Colorado mountains, whether it was like, Keystone or whatever. So I would stay with her, and she had these like beautiful labs, and she was always like, that when the time's right, like I'll give you a call. And I was like, okay, like, ha ha ha, not ready for a dog. I'm traveling all over the world. But I was also in a relationship where at the time I was living in Vancouver, and my partner at the time was not traveling, and he had a cat that had died, and he was actually like really depressed, and I was like, well, what if we got a dog? And then because I was gone, he didn't have a companion, and he felt like he needed that. And I got a call from my aunt one day, and she was like, hey, I got the dogs, like, do you want one? And I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, think about it, so we talked about it, and I was like, well, would it be good if you had a companion at home? I know these dogs are really great. And like, we thought we'd be together, forever, or whatever you think when you're in relationships like that. Totally. And so we agreed to get the dog, and my aunt flew her out. And we just got this beautiful sunshine girl. And she was like an angel from the get-go. She was just like, her demeanor, her personality, everything was just joy and sunshine. She was just like a little rainbow in my life. And we ended up breaking up, and it was very obvious that he was a cat guy. So so I got the dog, which like wasn't really convenient at all, but to think about that, and to be honest about it, I was like, whoa, this is super inconvenient. I have a dog now on my own, and I was like living in Whistler, literally like ramping up to the peak in my career. And I was like, ooh, I wonder how this is going to go. But I have really great parents, and they lived on a farm. And so it was really easy for me to be like, okay, it's January. I'm going to be gone for a month and a half. I would drive her over to Victoria, drop her off, leave, come back, pick her up. So I was very fortunate to have family support. And they treated her like gold. And she just was that her whole life. She was such an angel. She was just taught a lot of other dogs how to be chill. And she had really funny mannerisms, and they become your little like shadow, I guess. They just are a part of you. And this week has been really hard for sure. And I didn't really know, sorry, I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying about my dog. But you don't really know like how you're going to feel. But I remember when she started getting pretty old, I started crying like randomly because I just think about her being gone. And I'm like, oh, we don't get to like go on road trips. Like I'm just talking to myself now in the car. I'm not talking to like you in the back. And we're not like stopping and smelling the roses along the way. You're just beelining it until you got to pee. So, or until you're hungry. And they become like so much a part of you. And I think that I believe she was like extra special because she touched so many other people. I have so many friends who like when she died, the outpouring of like love and support, I think I was a little bit surprised. I was like, whoa, other people really loved her too. And like, she was special to, beyond just what I thought, people were sending me photos of her and like telling me stories, and it really has been helping us in the last week. But, I think the beautiful thing about her life is she lived this like epic rainbow. She was always happy, and I'll go on forever about who she was and what she did, but she was really special to me. Like it's like losing, I don't even know what it's like. It's like losing a dog. But I forget where I was going there. I was going to say something that she was super special because she is. But the way that it all ended was very Stella-esque. She has been in the last year, she got really old. It was hard for her to go for long walks, and she just kind of slowed way down. And as she slowed down, when she wasn't able to do the things that she always loved, she'd get like sad. And so Austin and I both noticed it, where she was kind of like just bummed out. She had her bummer year. Yeah. But there were moments where she was just still stoked and like ready to go. And she'd have a good day where we'd go on a super long walk in the woods. And then another day where she was like, I'm not getting up,
That must be hard to watch.
It's hard for sure. But I think when you're in it, you almost don't like, it's harder to notice because you're super analyzing every single day and comparing it to the last. But when you look further back, you're like, oh, compared to last year, this is very different. And the decision making around like her going or us, taking her to end her life. I'm actually really proud of Austin and I for being able to recognize it and being like, she's in pain. And she has been too good in her life, too much of an angel to deserve to live in pain. And so, there was a bad night, and we both kind of like had a cry. She got to watch the sunrise that morning, and she went to the beach, and, they just start having weird behaviors like hanging out outside instead of inside. And like, she actually was pawing at the base of a tree one day. Like she wanted to crawl in it, and she just wasn't happy anymore. She was like, she loved us and we loved her. And there was like little moments, but she was just in pain, and you can't let them suffer. And at one point we called the vet and we're like, I think we need to do this. Like, when can we do it? And he's like, it's today or a few weeks. And it was, we looked at our watches and he's like 4:00 and it was like 11, you know? So we just gave her this like beautiful day. We cooked her a salmon. We took her to the lake, her favorite spot. And we just spent the day with her, and she was like under her little shady, on the grass under a shady tree, her favorite spot. We just like hung out there with her, and then we held her, and she went on the blanket that she had as a puppy. It was like, it couldn't have been any more beautiful. And like the whole week, I'm just like, how awesome is that you get this like super crazy rainbow of a life, and she got to pass peacefully, which is like all you can really ask for. So, yeah, she's gone, but she's not. She's always going to be with us. And maybe that was a little emotional, but it's an emotional time for me. So,
is there something that Stella taught you in Austin a lot during that long journey?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is she taught us how to be adults. She taught us how to be responsible, to like get up, take them out, make sure they're comfortable, you know. And I think like as she got older and I got older, I took better care of her because I was paying more attention to what she needed. It's like you're not just caring about yourself and your own wants and needs, but you're caring for something else that has to have a good quality of life also, because you love it. And the dog loves you. It gives you like the support, the love and affection when nobody else can. You know, they know, they're so intuitive. And so I think just through her life, she kind of just, taught us to, you know, pull our pants up and be responsible, and also to like chill the fuck out sometime.
Unless you have a dog, it's like, I've never witnessed something that could just love something. Like, it loves you so much. You're like, every time you leave and you come back, it's like, damn, you're back? No way! Like, I thought you were gone forever. Like, you're like, I went and took the trash out.
Yeah.
Like,
and like dogs in general, their gratitude for being alive is inspirational.
that is.
You know, you're like, you're just happy to be here. And we're like, you know, going on and on about all our little problems and whatever else. And
my
like,
jacket came in red instead of blue. You're like, what? That is not a problem.
Yeah. So that's the other big lesson is like, you know, gratitude just for being alive and like being able to enjoy the beautiful lives that we have. So, yay. Thank you, Stella.
Yeah. Big shout outs to Stella. And would you recommend somebody who's on the fence? Maybe somebody who's like, I don't know if I'm at a place where I should get a dog. Should I not get a dog?
I don't know. It's so personal.
It is.
You know,
Good
and
answer.
some people can be like, I need a dog, and they go get a dog and they're like, what have I done? It really depends on where you're at and what you're willing to do for that animal. So, and the support you have, you know. So, I don't know. It's a really hard one. I would say that I personally would do it all over again. I don't know if it's necessarily for everyone, but I highly recommend it.
Same. I think that if you want a dog and you don't have one, I think you should get it. And I think you should know it comes with a lot of responsibility, but the added responsibility will push you out of your comfort zone and you will grow a lot alongside that dog and you will become a better person. Since I've had a dog, I'm like, I love what you said about like getting up in the morning and routine and growing. Like, it teaches you to grow up like pretty quick. It's almost like a more friendly, easygoing kid.
Yeah.
I don't have a kid, so I'm not comparing. And if you want to have a kid, go for it. But I'm just saying that, like, maybe if you don't want to dip your toes in that water, a dog is a good alternative.
You're going to have a lot of moms coming down here knocking at your door.
I love moms. I love kids.
Telling you otherwise. They're like, kids are, you know, I've never been a mother either. So I don't know. But I think you can't just like open the door and close it and let them outside. And they don't want you to pay for university. and I feel like there's a elevated, but it's training wheels probably.
Yeah, I'm a big fan, huge fan of getting a dog. I was on the fence. Huge, like did not actually I wasn't even on the fence. I was like, no. And then my fiance, Chelsea, was like, no, we're getting a dog. And then I got one because she really wanted one. And I knew that if we got one, it would just, like, I grew up with dogs, but, you know, when you grow up on a farm, it's just a little bit different.
Yeah, totally.
You know, we had, like, a dog, a horse, a bunch of cats, a goat. You know what I mean? You're just like, animals are animals, and they're outside, and I'm inside, and they don't come inside.
I'm a hard no on the goat.
On the goat?
No
We've only
goats.
had one, and then the salt brick got bad or something, and it died, and it was really sad.
It is sad. I
Yeah.
feel like we underestimate animals so much overall. Like even,
Way smarter than we think.
like yeah, like the things that they're picking up on, the things that they do for you. They're like, we kind of think we're above it all. I feel humans we're like, yeah, we're humans.
We're at the top of the food chain.
You know,
Yeah.
And I'm not a vegan, for the record.
Me neither.
But I do think that we underestimate animals' intelligence and plant intelligence, for that matter.
Oh.
You know.
So, like, at any given time, humans think they have all the answers to everything, but they do not.
Yeah.
To bring it back to dogs, Chelsea was just talking to me this morning about how dogs can know over 1,000 words.
And like they just found out that like whales have like different languages. Like different whales have different languages. Like it's
Depending on the like their group or their pods or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
It's like, and it's, I think with orcas, I was listening to this CBC doc called J-Pod Killers on the Brink.
Yep.
Great.
Heard of it.
Great podcast about killer whales. Orcas, sorry. But they talk about like the mothers or the matriarchs of the pod passing along the songs of that pod, and then the babies, that's how they know they're a part of that pod, is they learn the songs and they hear the song, right? It's like really beautiful. Anyways, back to snowboarding.
Animal podcast.
We're going to, sorry, I spiraled there, but
No, not at all. We got a couple questions here to get to know you. Short form from Baldface. Thank you, Jeff, for supporting the show. Have you been?
I have been to Baldface before.
How many times do you think you've been?
Countless. I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, whether through trips or like guiding or like just events, I've been there a lot. I'm super lucky to have been there so much. I actually went there and did a quarantine once for 2 weeks.
For COVID?
Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff. What a place to do it.
I know.
How was the soup?
It was great, actually. We had a chef who was like Newman was up there taking care of the lodge, and he's also a chef. So we had some really, really nice dinners. We had the cabin one to ourselves, and that's when Austin proposed. We were actually up
Quarantining at Baldface.
Yeah.
That's where you got proposed, on top of a mountain.
Yes.
Top
of
good
cherry
spot
tops.
to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Did you anticipate it? Do you think it was going to come?
Well, there was a moment where he's like he tries to keep secrets, or like tries to surprise, but he just can't do it.
Not gifted in that department.
No, we were like had this morning where it was like this beautiful pow day, and we're like riding BB Bowl, just lapping BB Bowl over and over. And then this fog rolls in, and he's like, let's go up to Cherry Tops and check the weather. And I'm like, it's foggy. Like, obviously, we're not going up there to check the weather. So I'm like, this is super weird. And then I'm like,
You had an inkling.
But I did have an inkling. But yeah, it was really romantic.
Did you guys talk about it at all before?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a backstory to that proposal, but I think it's private. I think I can't tell it.
No, let's keep that between you. That's a you thing.
It's funny, but it's like my own humor.
I like
it's
it.
our humor. I can't tell it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have that too. I think everybody in a relationship has their own unique dynamic between their partner or language almost.
Totally.
Like we have like phrases and things that we can say, and it's like I'm like, "Ooh, you're in a really good mood," or like, "Oh fuck, like I better give you some space today."
Yeah.
Yeah, being very intuitive with my partner's needs these days, coming up to a month before our wedding.
Happy wife, happy life. Repeat after me.
I'm on board with that. Totally. It's true. Yeah. Question number 1, favorite band at the age of 18?
Oh, I think Green Day.
Oh, good pick.
Yeah. Green Day was like my favorite band at the time.
I love old Green Day for sure. I like Green Day.
It was
if you
great.
put it on, I'm in a good. I like it.
It's great. And like I was young, and that was like our grad song. It was that and Beastie Boys.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Somebody was a snowboarder growing up.
Yeah, no shit.
First concert you ever went to?
Oh, Puff Daddy and Mace.
What?
Yeah.
Cool.
I know. But featuring Busta Rhymes,
And they were all there?
Little Kim,
Oof.
Kid Capri. It was the craziest concert.
That is a hammer lineup. I mean, Diddy is going to go to jail forever, it sounds like, because he's been diddling people or whatever. But
I haven't
Mace
been paying
is like
attention.
a priest.
Is he?
Yeah,
Oh,
like I'm
wow.
pretty sure Mace is a priest these days. Mace.
Oh, yeah. It was the I Will Be Missing You tour.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Diddy did a bunch of shit and he ran away to like a remote island.
Oh, I had no
and they
idea.
caught him with like a bunch of like, I don't know,
Diddy?
tapes. And like he grew, yeah, totally Diddy. And
Diddy?
50 Cent's got all this beef on him right now. He's been posting for like 3 months straight about like him like grooming, I don't know, Bieber and all these people.
Wow.
And Usher, whatever.
I've just been hearing about this like Kendrick Lamar Drake
yeah,
beef,
yeah.
and like it was on the CBC, and I was like, huh.
Do you live in a small surf town that's kind of removed from society?
There's only so much news I can take. Okay.
The Drake and Kendrick thing, that was like a month ago. Come
Oh,
on.
whoops.
I'm just kidding. You're not missing anything.
Okay.
Favorite subject in high school?
Biology
Biology.
and history.
Did you guys cut a pig open?
Yep.
And, yeah, we did that. And the formaldehyde smelled so bad. Oh.
See, it was bad. I wasn't super bothered by it. I remember we had like staples and we actually like kitted out our pig and we made like a nose ring with a staple. We were like, yeah. And then we did like one of these and the teacher was super bummed at us. He had a bummer day at us because it was disrespectful. But it was. But at the time, it was funny.
I think it's kind of funny.
And I learned a lot about
Yeah.
anatomy. So thank you.
I have a sense of humor. I think it's funny.
Okay, good.
What were you super into as a child or a kid that wasn't snowboarding, skateboarding?
Oh, actually, so I didn't even start snowboarding until I was 16. And before that, I was a dancer, like classically trained ballerina. And I did like the Royal Academy of Ballet exams, like ever since I was super little. And then I grew up sailing and around boats. So yeah,
Cool.
random.
No, that's amazing. My sister was a dancer and I want to get into sailing. So I like this.
Yeah.
I like where we are
Yeah,
right now.
dancing and sailing. I wasn't in love with sailing. I don't think I realized the parts of it I was in love with until now, because I love being out on boats, on the boat. I have a boat with Marie France. My dad used to sign me up for sailing camp for most of the summer. And, not most of the summer. It felt like an eternity, okay? But it was probably 2 weeks. So every year I did sailing camp, and I didn't love it to death because they made you like capsize and get in the water, and I wasn't enamored with it. But I loved going out with my family. We would, cruise the Gulf Islands and the West Coast, and we did a lot of sailing growing up.
That's my bucket list for like
Yeah.
my life. That's
Yeah.
my dream.
Yeah, I was more interested in the zodiac behind it. I was like, when can
Smaller,
I drive?
agile.
When can I drive that zodiac? So my dad taught me at a really early age how to like man the dinghy. And so I was always really interested in the dinghy and where we could go ashore. But the thing about sailing that I love, that I didn't realize I love so much, is just like getting away from everything and like being in the depths of nature, like being on the ocean or in bays and there being, fishing and lakes that you can hike to, and just having like a supernatural experience, I guess.
I bet you there's a stronger correlation than, well, actually, I think that you do recognize this, but like between snowmobiling and sailing. Because if you're sailing, like you were saying there, that you're heading off to these remote islands, it's quiet. There's only a select few people that also put that same amount of time, energy, and skills to get there. And like when we went sailing, sea-doing up the coast to the Prince Louisa Inlet, me and Rasmus and Mark, the further you go, it's just like there's just nothing up there other than people that are like putting a lot of energy to be up there.
Yeah.
Similar to sledding or touring or whatever. It's like once you don't go up Whistler Blackcomb and you go into the backcountry, it's like you're only going to bump into people who put a whole bunch of work to get out there.
Yeah.
Couple randoms that shouldn't be out there, but for the most part, it's just a collective group that really wants to get away and have some elbow space. And
Yeah. And I still like cherish, I don't think it's even like I'm so in love with the mountains or I'm so in love with the ocean. I love kind of just being away from it for a second and there be nothing else.
all right, what job did you think you were going to do when you were 16-ish?
I thought I was going to
Teenager?
be a dentist.
A dentist?
Yeah.
Your dad's a dentist.
My dad's a
I did
dentist.
know that.
And my uncle was a dentist.
But do you want to be a dentist?
I wanted to be like my dad.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good plug.
Yeah. He was just like a really cool guy.
I'm scared of going to the dentist still.
Are you?
When I have to go, I'm like, fuck.
I love it.
Real? What do you mean you love it?
It was so fun for me.
You liked going to the dentist as a kid.
I mean,
Did you like the flavors, or did you like when they were drilling on your teeth?
the stuff you get done sucks, but the experience for me was great.
No way.
I got, like the toy box. Imagine, you get excited when you're a kid when you get to go pick the toy. It was always there. I could go anytime. I could wear all the rings and be like, look at me.
I was the candy kid, so I was in the dentist office way too much. They're like, another cavity, Jody. And
How
I'm
many
like,
fillings do you have?
I don't know, like 100,000.
I have 13.
I wonder,
I'm about to have 14.
do you think that when we were kids, they put metal into your teeth?
Yeah.
I've heard that because I have bad headaches. I get migraines.
Oh.
I heard that what they used to fill the teeth with can leak into your bloodstream and be a part of the whole migraine situation I'm having. And so somebody was like, dude, you got to get them all taken out and get them refilled with what they use now because it's not like toxic.
I don't know.
We got to talk to your dad.
Yeah, let's get him on the horn.
What was your first job?
I worked at I worked for my dad, filing
Teeth?
filing dental records.
Ooh.
And delivering mail and getting people lunch and coffee.
Did you enjoy it? That sounds like kind of mellow.
Yeah, it was super fun.
What was your first real job outside of that, or straight to professional snowboarding?
No. Oh my God, I worked so many jobs.
Love to hear that. Same.
Love
to hear the hustle.
I had to hustle pretty hard. I folded T-shirts at a T-shirt store. I worked at this place called 360 Board Shop in Victoria. I worked at La Tortilleria Burritos. It is now Dups. I don't even know if Dups is there anymore.
Dups is gone.
R.I.P.
Yeah. It's like this
shitty
noodle box place.
Yeah. I worked at the Wildflower Restaurant. I worked at Blackcomb Snowmobile. I worked at Canadian All Terrain. I was a baker for like a month, and then I was like, I'm over getting up at 5.
Yeah, right? They get up so early.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
if you're
I
a
was
baker,
working
you're
all
a
those
savage.
jobs kind of at the same time. Usually in that era when I was first starting out in snowboarding, I was working 2 to 3 jobs at a time and just like balancing it all. And then I would make this like intricate schedule where I could like maximize my snowboard time. So, but those were the jobs I had here.
I love how much hustle you had to put in there, because we were having a dinner the other day and Mikey Cicerelli was attending, and it was really awkward because he was like, we were talking about jobs. He's like, oh, I've never had a job. And we're like, fuck you, dude.
Really?
He's just been a pro snowboarder his whole life. You're like, damn, you're one of those. Like,
Yeah.
Like a Danny Davis or like a Mickle that like
Didn't have to hustle.
Doesn't zero.
Yeah.
I mean, they're definitely hustle at snowboarding, and they deserve everything.
Yeah.
Because
They're
I'm not taking a shot at them. I'm just extremely jealous.
I'm a big Mikey Cicerelli fan.
Same.
Yeah.
Super nice guy.
And Danny Davis.
And Mickle.
And Mickle.
What was your first car?
Toyota Tercel.
Oh, nice. Those are dope. What color?
Burgundy.
What year?
Oh, 1991.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It was a 4-door.
Sunroof.
And I had a tape deck. I had like Creedence Clearwater Revival and Madonna the Immaculate Collection as my like
go-tos.
best tapes. I also had Green Day Dookie and Counting Crows. I think it was Mr.
And
Jones.
Little Kim and P. Diddy.
Yeah. That was more my CD era. So.
All right. What was your first snowboard?
Nitro Glide 149. Yeah, I didn't have a snowboard until I was 18. I didn't own one. I borrowed my sister's snowboard before that. She had the K2, like that blue board with the clicker system.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so I borrowed that from my sister Lindsay. The first like couple years I was
Dabbling.
weekend warrioring. Yeah.
Did you go up the mountain that's on the Vancouver Islands called Mount Washington? Was that your home mountain?
Nailed it. Yeah. It wasn't
4 hours away.
Yeah.
Kind of far.
Yeah, it was really far. And that was before they had the new highway.
Oh, so,
So
even
it was
longer
even
and
longer.
sketchier.
Yeah, but we don't go like every weekend. It was like 3 weekends.
I love Victoria. I lived there for 2 years. I don't know how I did it while I was snowboarding.
I just found that out about you, and I was like, Jody lived in Victoria? Like, what did he do there?
I just hung out. I literally hung out with nobody.
Okay.
I had one friend there. His name was Scott. And I just did a lot. It was actually like a weird time for me in the sense where I went there and I'm a very social person. We moved there because it was my fiance's dream to live there. I decided to be like, okay, we'll do this thing called compromise, which I'm willing to do in the relationship because she's been kind of living my dream here in Whistler.
Yeah.
Let's go to Victoria, lived there, and just spent a lot of time walking around on the beach. And
Boring.
it was the best thing. It was boring, but the best thing I've ever done in my life.
That's good.
It was during COVID. So it was
Okay.
a nice place because, you'd go home and then there's so much to do around Victoria as far as hiking and stuff.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Victoria, really.
I really like it.
I think it's very quaint for a big city.
Yes.
And it's kind of like nice. It's balmy in the winter and in the summer. Like, it's never too hot, it's never too cold. There's great lakes, like amazing lakes and rivers close by. Vancouver Island is like so dynamic, like there's so much to do, but I personally could never live in Victoria again. Every time I go back, I'm like, this is so nice. This is a nice visit, but like, I need more.
I know, we were just on Pender Island for a little bit and I was like, I think this is where I want to move. And then I was like, I feel like one of those Gulf Islands might be the ticket because the water's a bit warmer. I'm not like, I like surfing, but I don't need to like live by the surf. I feel like the boating and fishing and kind of just puttering around on my tin boat when I'm older in the rain sounds awesome.
It's a full-on putter fest
I'm going putter fest
in the Gulf Islands for sure.
All right, let's touch on your event here, which was a smashing success. Congratulations, because
Thank you.
Actually pulling off an event is a wild accomplishment. So nice job.
Thank you.
So it's called Research and Development. It was this past year. Maybe touch on what is research and development. You can start there.
Yeah. Research and development is basically a stepping stone style contest for backcountry freestyle snowboarding for women right now.
Okay. So what inspired you to start the event?
There is a bigger story there, I guess. I really want to see equal parts men and women on the natural selection tour. Damn, I said it.
Hey, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I just feel like at this point in time, we've had so much momentum with women in snowboarding. Just watching the slopestyle happen at the Olympics, the women were so exciting. And like, there has been moments in natural selection where I'm like, this is also really exciting. We just need like more of us. We need more competition. We need more people to compete against. We need more. And so anyway, I've been pushing for a couple years, Travis and Liam, to increase the number of women involved. And I understand that there are reasons why that hasn't happened yet. And one of the arguments is that, amongst a few, is that there aren't enough women who can compete in that arena, which I wholeheartedly believe is false. And at this point, it's false. It may have been true when the natural selection first started and maybe for a couple years there. But to me, the perfect example is the Zoe. I'm just going to call her the Zoe from here on out. But the Zoe showed up at natural selection and we all thought that she was going to kind of be like, we didn't know what was going to happen. And it was like, she just blew us all out of the water.
I thought she was going to suck.
Well, you said it, not me. But like,
I was like, you're going to throw a contest girl into the backcountry and look what she did.
Look what she did. She just blew the doors way off.
You were there the year that she first went.
I competed against her.
I
lost to Zoe.
Talk about that dynamic though. Like, was she like really nice and like asking you a lot of questions, or was she like, I come from the contest world? Was she a little bit like had a chip on her shoulder? Like, what were her vibes showing up to NST?
She seemed a little intimidated, to be honest. She seemed like pretty quiet and reserved, like, and maybe a little bit nervous, but like wasn't showing it a lot. And I maybe she was a little bit intimidated. I would have been if I was in her shoes.
Same.
And yeah, so I think but as a seasoned competitor, because she had been like just smashing before that. Like I had been a fan of hers for years. Like she had been winning pretty much everything with Jamie, for 2 years prior. And I was so excited to see her there. And I always knew that I thought I knew. I'm pretty sure that one was correct, that she was going to be like a legendary female athlete. And I remember choosing her because I was like, oh, I'll probably never get the opportunity to compete against Zoe. So this is exciting. And I didn't know that she was going to be so good. And right away, qualifying runs, I was trying to land my like finals runs because she was just doing so well. I was like, oh my God, I got to like turn up the heat fast. I just didn't think it was going to be that. And I was wholeheartedly like stoked. Like I was like, this is awesome. I just lost, but like sick,
She really is like that once in a lifetime. You know what I mean? She's, to me, I feel like who would you say was before her? Maybe Jamie in that field in competitive snowboarding before her. I don't know.
Jamie for sure.
And then who was before Jamie?
Jana Mayan. God, this is like bad because I'm like,
because you're a backcountry rider, you're not a contest.
Yeah,
snowboarder.
but like Spencer.
Yeah, Spencer.
Super big, has always been a big threat. But like in terms of like the person who's just like podiuming over and over and over and over, it was Jamie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been like the GOAT in that world for a long time.
Time.
And then Zoe just came in and was just like, thanks for all those years of inspiration. Like I'll try and take it from here. And then I've just never been that blown away by not even a female snowboarder, by any snowboarder.
Yeah.
Like you take any snowboarder ever and it's like their first real year in the backcountry and you drop them up there with like you and Elena and like these experienced vets in Alaska. Mm-hmm. And she just rides down the face and I was pissed. I was watching the event when she was riding down. I was like, I couldn't even ride down that. Like, how was she just
I don't know.
navigating down this massive Alaskan face and coming all the way down? Like drops off the first pillar. I'll never forget this. She does this ollie off this.
It was crazy.
I was like, what the hell is going on here?
And I remember going into that part of the contest, like in that like Alaska contest and being like, okay, this is where I'm going to like, this is my venue. Like I'm good at this venue.
Totally.
Or, and then exactly the same thing. I was like, oh my God, she's good at this too. How the?
Right? I'd be like, you're an asshole.
But I mean, right she had been out with some of the Burton riders beforehand in Haines, and just having that support really like I think was valuable for her moving into that. And she had people behind her being like, okay, like this is how you're gonna do it. Like I remember watching Ben like kind of coach her in a way, and like Mikkel like giving her tips, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is like that we're at a place right now where you can see some potential in somebody and like everybody is like there to support. And like obviously I don't want to take away any credibility that she did that completely on her own. She did, but like the support there was incredible. And I was like really proud of snowboarding in general for getting behind women, because that hasn't been everybody's not every female's experience. There has been like a gender gap or in the support and opportunity, which brings me back to why we started R&D, which was your question. It totally went somewhere else.
No, that was a good sidetrack.
So anyway, back to that question. I really want to see equal parts men and women. I think we're there. And I realize logistically it would be a huge shift for the NST. And there's some people on that team who don't believe that there's enough women participating in snowboarding to warrant those seats. But to me, you have to plant the seed before the plant grows. And you just can't wait around for that population to show up. They have to be inspired and they have to want to go do it. And they have to be able to see themselves in the people doing it. And like, I think we're there. I think we may have been there last year. And so anyway, when we had this conversation with people on their team in the fall, it was, well, what are we doing about it? And I kind of took that fairly literally and was like, okay, I'm going to do something about it. Even though I really wasn't prepared at all. I had just come off a couple big years, and I tend to overcommit. And so I get it was part of this time where I really wanted to rest a little bit to regain some energy and so that I could go ham again. But sometimes the opportunity just is there, and sometimes you feel the need that you have to just do it now. And so I did it now.
Honestly, kudos to you, because I think that if there was equal playing field, men, women, at natural selection, maybe the first couple years, picking a venue would be, whoever's picking it, it would be in their best interest to find a terrain that has some complex stuff for people like Travis, but then also has some friendlier stuff. So, but what you would be doing with that, you would break that gap down, and in 5 years you would see a whole slew of Zoes, and you'd be like, what the fuck just happened? And because of that, you would change the game.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I think, the goal in the end, is to let's change the game. Let's get that progression that we're seeing in all these different parts of women in sports, surfing, especially right now. That pipe contest just blew my mind. I was like, what the hell is going
Savages.
on? This is so sick. It's so exciting. And I want that for backcountry snowboarding and women. And it has started in a way. Zoe started that, and I love, watching Haley now.
Totally.
She thinks she's just the flow master.
I love Haley's style.
Yeah, me too.
She's just not doing. Do you know when people overcomplicate it?
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, I'm just gonna flow down this. I mean, all the women at natural selection, there's definitely and you were kind of touching on this. Everybody is kind of uplifting everybody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I see all you guys working together, and it's not the same energy as other contests.
Yeah, I love it. I love the natural selection for what it is. The vibe between the riders, the energy of just being a part of it. The fandemonium part of it is really cool. It brings out those diehard snowboard fans, which I love.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, it's great. And just the whole, it's this little family of people that are there to just perform their best, but also have a really good time in the best way that snowboarding can be. It's a good representation of what snowboarding is. And I love that. So I have, of course I'm going to be pushing for small changes, big change within the NST, but also I love what it is. And I hope it doesn't lose its essence, and there's people talk shit on it sometimes. And I'm like, you don't talk shit about things you don't care about. People care about the NST. I care about the NST. It's important for snowboarding, and I don't want it to go anywhere.
I was a fan and I was watching it, and now I'm kind of on the tour a little bit. And once you kind of get immersed in that, you see the background and the hustle and how hard everyone's working to make this happen, and the people that are behind it and how much everybody there loves snowboarding. And then you see how all the riders are hanging out with each other. You're like, this is a really special thing that's a really good, like you said, representation of snowboarding. Mm-hmm. And props to you for not just complaining on the sidelines like most people in life who are like, there's not enough women in this, or there's not enough X in this, or this needs to change. And you're like, it does need to change. And I'm going to take on a massive amount of work and stress myself out, I can only imagine, and have another event, research and development.
Yeah, sometimes you need to do the act to make real change. And
Totally.
that's what I would like to see. And I know a lot of other women out there want to see it too. And not even just women, men. Men want to see it for their daughters, for their sisters, for their wives, they're snowboard fans too, So why not? And yeah, I just feel like that would be progressive of them to have the same amount of women competing as men. I don't expect it to happen overnight. May take a few years, but that's the goal. And to your point where you said why I would take that on and all that stress and all that, work, but it didn't necessarily feel that crazy because it's something I've been passionate about for a long time, you know, and I like love snowboarding so much that it doesn't feel bad. It felt good the whole way. Like when I actually stood back from R&D and I was like, whoa, what just happened? People were like, that must have been such a huge workload and like the stress, like how did you pull that off? And I was like, it actually didn't feel like that. The whole time I was just like happy to be doing it. You know, I was like, yeah, I want to be doing this. It feels good. And like, I want that opportunity for that next gen. That feels good. Cause like, you know, I have had so many opportunities in my snowboard career. And I do see this like next gen, they suffer from this like opportunity gap where they just aren't getting the same opportunities. And I feel like the industry in general is like kind of supporting the same women over and over and over. And like we keep getting better and we keep like doing more things and being in more films. But then there's this like, you know, undercurrent of like really strong women, like almost equally as strong women who aren't getting the opportunities for one reason or another. And there's a bit of a gap there and they can't get to that next level because they aren't getting the opportunity to try. And that's like the thing that I said the most about R&D is it's, you know, if we want the women in the NST or just in backcountry snowboard freestyle to get better, they need the opportunity to try. And the way to get there is not as easy, even though it wasn't easy as it used to be. Sleds are, you know, $20,000. Like, you know, crews aren't exactly like, hey, oh, you don't have any sponsors? Come with us.
Totally.
Oh, we can't get money to support this filmer? Yeah, come on in. Like it's complicated.
It is very complicated. My little 2 cents on that for any girls that are, or anyone actually, they don't even need to be girls, to be like, where do I start? Start with your own, like find a crew of people that you can hang out with and start filming and just start doing that however you need to do that. Because all of the best shit is created through a couple of people being like, I'll film with you. There's people that'll film with you. And like, I'm imagining you, me, people that aren't like the rock stars at a young age that actually have to put in a lot of work and time and energy to get better. And it's not handed to them on any kind of silver platter. We kind of like find our own ways. Like, how did Dope Industry start? A big group of people that were like, we don't have anything to film.
Yeah.
For Sandbox is the same thing. Like, and Runway, kind of same thing. Leanne gathered a bunch of girls that were occasionally a few of those women would be in videos, but it would be like Tara, Victoria, and like a couple of them. And then like, but nobody else. And there was like 10 girls that were running snowboarding for like 15 years. And to your point, you're like, but there's a lot of people just below that are really good that just don't have the opportunity. Leanne saw a huge gap and started a women's camp, started Runway, gave back, and she must be so proud that there's other women that are taking it. Yeah, totally. Dara is. Like, Dara went to that camp. I remember Dara being like, when I was 16, Dara was like, Leanne is the best. She gives back so much. And like, she went to those, what was it, MGT camp?
MGT snowboard camp?
Yeah, totally. And now Dara is such a voice for women in snowboarding, and it's so inspiring. And so are you, and look what you're doing. Because of people like Leanne. And then there's going to be somebody that came to your event who went to research and development that in 10 years you're going to be like, damn, that girl's that's who I passed the torch to, and it's inspiring.
It's exciting. And like, I just am so excited to see, like, I mean, in hindsight, seeing what they did with the conditions that they had, it was mind-blowing. I was like, whoa, this is way more than I thought, because it was like terrible conditions. It was like this much, maybe 8 cms max on like a hard crust. So like freestyle, it was not conducive to freestyle. It was conducive to free ride. And we saw some really good free riding, like insane people riding with insane speed and control. Like Ellery Manning, like, I mean, she won the contest. We were all like,
never even heard of her.
She wasn't even invited. It was her dad called me because I had no idea about her.
Me neither.
I like basically, went down, made a list with consultation with Kimmy, Leanne, Hannah, and Marie France. And I said, like, because I consulted with them the whole way. So I as much as it's like, my event, I don't really see it that way. I see it as like, it's our event. It's women's snowboarding's event. And a lot of people helped me with that, and consulted along the way and helped me get the riders and all that. Anyway, we had this list, and she wasn't on the list because we didn't really know about her. And once Mia Jones got in there, she rides with Mia a lot. And then her dad called me and was like, hey, Robin, it's Tim Manning. And I was like, what's up, Tim? Like, what's going on? You know, hadn't heard from him in like years. He was like, so I heard you're doing this thing and Nelson and my daughter, she's really good. And like, tried to take it with a grain of salt. Like every dad is like, yeah, my kid's really good. And I'm like, right. I'm sure they are. I'm sure they're really good. And he was like, if there's any way that she could get into that contest. And I was like, Tim, I built this list with, 4 other people and we all kind of voted on it. Like not official, but we all put our names in and the collective names that were on there, we were like, okay, these are going to be the ones. And so I can't really just add people because it's, because I'm in charge of this list. I have to ask everybody else and make sure that they can come because we have alternates too. Because there were like a bunch of names. There were these ones, and then like, our alternate athletes who we were going to call if these ones got injured. So somebody got injured, and it was 3 days before the event. I think 4 days. Emma Crosby got injured, and I told Tim, he's like, well, if anybody drops out, give me a call. Fast forward till 5 days before the event, and I didn't know who to call. I was like, damn, who's going to fill this seat? And I almost for a moment was going to let it just be empty. And then I was like, no, because, I was already over by like 4 people. I was only supposed to have
4? That's a lot.
I know it's a lot. Yeah. But I couldn't say no. There were so many good riders.
If you ran at you. Liam, we're only over 6 people. Well, over 6 people.
Yeah, but that's the beauty of it is when you do something at this level, there is so much flexibility. And Whitewater was a dream to work with. They were so good to me. They trusted me like crazy, which I was like, why? But okay.
Imposter syndrome from not being a rider this time, but for being an event coordinator. You're like, why do you trust me?
Yeah, I'm like, are you sure? And so I called Tim and he was like, yeah, oh my God, I got to make this happen. He was in Alaska filming Danny Davis. And he's like, I gotta, I'll call you back. And then he calls me back 3 hours later, flights are booked. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy is like dad of the year. And Ellery shows up 1 day late because, it was really quick turnaround. And the Jones team kind of took her up and gave her her like scout and everything, and then knocked the socks off. Wow. We were just so impressed with her. And she's 17 years old.
That's so badass.
Yeah.
And then Estelle got second and Steffi got third, correct?
Yep. Yeah. I've also never seen Estelle ride like that ever.
Damn.
I was like, okay, so somebody performs under pressure. Like she rode amazing.
What were the vibes between all the women there? Was it tense contest vibes? Was everybody having fun? Were people cheering each other on? Like
it was so non-competitive. It was really great. The girls were, I call them girls, the women were great. The vibes were like just stoked to be there. Like really excited. They were working with each other in little pods, like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And then, okay, if you're going to go there, then like, I'll have to think about something else. And they were like so collaborative. And like, obviously I was a little bit distracted because I was, on course actually shoveling jumps while they were like doing scout, and I was putting up flags. Cause it, this isn't the NST. It's just, grassroots. I literally
had to do some labor around here.
I did a lot of labor. Labor of love for sure. And yeah, but Hannah was there and Marie France was there and Leanne was there and Maria Thompson. And they were kind of like, guiding them around and like showing them how to do like, oh yeah, if you aired off of this, that'd be cool. And it was really a cool moment, in women's snowboarding. Cause we had this generational, field come together and have that like older generation work with that young gen. And then, it was amazing. I'm so proud of all the women who showed up, and I cannot wait to do it again and see what else can happen. Like the possibilities are just, they're endless. And I feel wholeheartedly that they proved to everyone that they deserve to be here and they deserve to compete right alongside the guys. And I like can't see why, like, basically all the arguments to me are like burnt to flames. I'm like, they're gone. We're ready. Like, we're here. There's enough.
What impact do you hope this event will have on snowboarding, women's snowboarding?
I hope it'll just, I hope it will kind of foster some progression in backcountry freestyle, and I hope it will inspire more women to participate in snowboarding. And yeah, I guess that's the end goal. I want us to rise a little, and we're doing it.
Okay, let's get a standout rider to you. They didn't need to win. Maybe it was just their manners. Like, who's kind of like, you're like, I really like that girl, and I think she's going to have a bright future in our snowboard world.
Can I say a few names?
Yeah, shoot.
Okay. Ellery, for one. Mia Jones.
She's sick.
She's
I met her
really
at
sick.
Baldface. Amazing.
Yeah. Marissa Krozak.
Oh, I haven't met her yet.
Yeah. But to me, the biggest like surprise and somebody that I've known forever who really like knocked my socks off was Estelle Pensiero. Like, seeing her since she was, I met her when she was so little, like 12, maybe even earlier. And like, she was just a child, like literal child. And then to see her kind of just like, come into her own on that day specifically, I was just like, what?
With 10 centimeters and like variable conditions.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
it is nice that, like when you have those conditions, Steph, like some of those NST at Jackson, like the snow wasn't that good. It got kind of wind buffed, and you're like, this is what it is. Like, if you go to natural selection, there's going to be variables that are, the weather's going to weather.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's not always good. I mean, look at that Euro
Totally.
contest with Sebi and Kevin.
They had a contest?
Yeah, it was the duels.
Oh, you mean the duels? Yeah,
Duels, yeah.
Sorry, I thought you meant a side
Yeah,
contest.
Kevin
I was-
Backstrom.
Yeah,
and
their
like
conditions
that
were
was
gnarly.
hardcore.
Dude, Kevin's double wildcat. You're like, dude, calm down. Like, don't hurt yourself.
I'm
Like,
like,
it was
this is not the
insane.
time. Do not put your body on the line like that. But yeah, it's hard for me to say that there's one. But I did end up going on a trip with Marissa after to Norway. I really pushed for her to come on this trip with me and Leanne. And Marianne Hardy was there too. It was great. But it was so evident that Marissa is an absolute ATV. She can do anything. Like, she's good at freestyle. She's super powerful and fast. She can hang in any sort of like mountain scenario. She's got like the skills with her ice axe, with her crampons. Like, she can get on anything and ride down with like speed and control. It's like really, really impressive. And if there was like any brand right now that were like, we need a backcountry girl, I'm like, this one right here.
Our full name, just so the brands, if they're listening.
Marissa Krozak.
There you go.
Yeah.
They're every once in a while, now that I do the podcast, I definitely get hit up by random companies like, hey, we're looking for, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I hit them up, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna try and sneak this one for my brands because this person's sick.
Yeah. And like one more person I'm going to say that I was really impressed with. And I feel like she embodies that old style of snowboarding where you just go big with style, and it's going to click for her. And when it does, those brands are going to be so lucky that they are backing her. Katie Kennedy is like actually so good at snowboarding.
She's a
got
badass.
really good style. She goes big, which like I think has been missing a little bit. She takes that bigger hit and does it, like grabs her board and she commits, which it's like the commitment in her tricks it's really amazing to watch. And I think when things really click for her, she's going to have a really great and long career if her body makes it, because she takes some slams for sure. But we all did.
Yeah, the one thing that I feel like anybody who's getting into rail riding, backcountry, I mean, even if you're just starting to get into park, there's some years where it clicks for others a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
I was not a quick clicker. You just got to power through that, because when it clicks, oh my God, it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like it is the first couple years you're hitting step downs and stuff. Like some people can just wrap their head. Not everyone's gonna be a Zoe. You know, there's gonna be a lot of Jodies out there that are going, you know, cab 5 dummy ragdoll all the way to the bottom, year 3, wondering why isn't it clicking. And you want to do what's it called when you do a gap year?
Bummer year.
A bummer year. And you want to take a bummer year. You just got to keep going.
I mean, I was a Jody. I was definitely Jody. I got the nickname Robahawk.
That's a good one. I have heard that. Robahawk's good.
Yeah. I had a full year of just tomahawking down the mountain.
That means you're trying to land though. If you're going over the nose, that means you're going bolts and then like it gets said way too much on this podcast, but Devin always says if you're not landing with both your feet and going over the nose, that means you're not trying to land. You know what I mean? You don't want to ski or land and get your shoulder in the snow.
No, like wheelies, I feel like they've been in and out of like every once in a while. There'll be a clip of me that like makes it in with a wheelie.
Fast manuals are cool.
And it's usually like me, like, can we please just let this one slide? But I do think that that's hardly a land. It is, but it's like when you land, you ride away with like speed and you're like, you know, you're going. So
I kind of like sometimes the wheelie works. It depends. You know,
it depends.
What I mean? Sometimes a long manual looks cool.
Sometimes if you can make it look cool, like the clip works for sure.
What did hosting this event teach you?
Yeah, maybe it wasn't like a teaching moment, but more of like a growing moment for me where I got to see this like next generation and recognize that like this is my transition. This is my moment to pass the torch. It's not that I have to quit. It's not that I need to move on. It's that I need to create space in my personal life, like, you know, whether it's like, you know, going out filming and spending a couple more days with people who don't know how to sled. But this is that time in my career where not everything is about me and my success. This is about like them. And I can now, like, I've grown from that event to see it happening in real life, to being like, yeah, any questions that I had in my mind about it being that time, this is like, boom, stamp, like it's time. This is your time to like give some of your time to them and make sure that they have the support that they need to succeed. And so now I can actually feel good and not worried about leaning back a little bit and allowing some other people to have that spotlight, which I'm like really excited about.
Do you have any advice for Ellery going to natural selection? Did she get an in?
So
is that confirmed?
That is a little bit confusing. So she's not necessarily going to natural selection. It was a combination of contest results and the film days. So film footage. So they were filming for 2 days they each had crews. There was 4 crews, and they went out and filmed for 2 days. One before, one after the event. And it's a combination 50-50 of your contest runs and your film like clips. So I can't actually tell you who's going to natural selection yet. It may be somebody on the podium. It may not be somebody on the podium.
Exciting.
Yeah, because the top 6 runs.
Can you say the name and we'll blank it out?
No, definitely not. But maybe I already did.
Maybe I forget.
But maybe I already did.
Do you have any advice to that individual and the rest of that crew for heading to natural selection? I mean, you've won it. Your whole friend group is in natural selection.
Yeah.
I feel like you kind of have a good understanding of how that event runs. So you got any advice for the up-and-comer?
Yeah, I think for up-and-comer going into the NST, like that scenario, I would say commitment. Commit to doing that contest and doing everything in your power to win that contest. And try not to do much else, because the focus is so important, you know, to at least in my experience, it was, you know, what is your main goal this year? If you're excited to do that contest, make that your main goal and commit to that goal far ahead. Like start training now, you know, kind of thing, and be all in.
Yeah, fully committing is actually a really good piece of advice. It sounds easy. Like when you say it, it's like, oh, that's easy, but you do really need to fully commit, like mentally, physically, like go to the gym. I feel like some people get like mental trainers for their game. Who was at the top this year? Oh, Jared Elston.
Yeah.
At the top had like that coach or whatever.
John
with
Coleman.
Him. Oh, you know him.
I know John, yeah.
Oh, so what do you think that John brings to Jared's game being at the top of NST drop?
I would say, having worked with somebody like John, I worked with another woman named Jenna Holgate. Through like from the moment I started NST, I started working with her.
Okay, so what would somebody like John and sorry, what was her name again?
Jenna Holgate.
Jenna bring it to the table for athletes at natural selection or any contest?
I mean, it helps you be your best version of you. I would say that it's different for different people depending on what you want. So I can't say what does it bring, but it helps you master this, which is like a huge part of it. Whether it's like, you know, having nerves around the contest or, you know, watching other people's runs and adjusting. It just helps you be the best version of you that you can be in that venue. And I think when you are the best version of yourself in that venue, that's when you're going to perform the best. And like, that's my experience. I can't speak for Jared, but to me, that's the value of the, you know, psychologist or the coach, like the mental coach, is that like they help you shed all of that, all of the shit, like all the insecurities, all the nerves, the like, you know, beating yourself up, like all that stuff. They help you kind of master it so that you can be wholeheartedly you in that moment and be the best that you can be, you know, potentially, if you're working hard enough at it, I guess.
Yeah.
Sounds cheesy, but works.
My like 2 cents for anybody going to that event, because I have lots of close friends going there, is remind yourself to not have imposter syndrome, because you're invited to that event for a reason, and like don't think you don't belong there when you're standing next to Travis Rice about to drop in.
Yeah.
Like, you got that call. Like, take that moment for you. Like you're there.
Yeah.
And do your best and stay in your lane. I feel like a lot of riders do their best when they stay in their lane. And if they know if they're more, you know, if you're a more technical rider, be a more technical rider. Don't try to be Travis Rice if you're not Travis Rice. You know what I mean? Stay in your lane.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a pretty good hard lesson in like trying to be Travis Rice when I was filming for Depth, because I was like, okay, I gotta be like Trav. And I
would die if I filmed that. I'd feel like, all right, be Jody, but be Jody that Travis would like. I would die.
Yeah, but it is true. You're kind of trying to be the best version of yourself and not try and be like every other rider, or you can't be the other rider. You can only be your own snowboarder, you know?
I can't not touch on that though. You got to film with Travis. You're at Natural Selection at his event. You see him ride. What's it like to be around Travis? What does he do that other riders maybe they don't do? Like, why is he so special at snowboarding? What elevates his game to this level of like God mode, do you think?
He's fearless. In a way, like the way that he acts and the way that he thinks so big and believes he can do it, that to me is like fearless. He acts fearless. And like, I so respect that, because I want that for myself. It's inspiring to see somebody with such big vision and such like amazing talent. And he got there believing that he could do that. You know, he was like, oh, I can do that. You know, he just is like, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, like, he doesn't think like, I'm going to build this small thing and then I'm going to doop doop boop over here. He's like, boom, boom.
Yeah.
You know, and it's kind of cool. Like, he goes about it in a different way than a lot of people. And some people like it, some people don't, but I really respect the vision. I respect like how he can think so big. And like how, like in snowboarding too, when you think big, like I'm going to ride down this line and I'm going to do, you know, a switchback 5 off of this bump over these trees and somehow land. Like, he's thought that through and is fully confident in doing it. And to me, I like think about that headspace and I'm like, Whoa.
I could only imagine what it would be like to film with him, especially during a film like Depth Perception, which like yourself, Brian Fox, Austin, and Travis were in, and there's some hammer footage in that. Austin, I believe, doesn't he have a huge front 10 in that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, that front 10 is so sick.
And like,
Fuck, that front 10's sick, Austin.
yeah, he's pretty
Ooh, you're
sick.
good.
He's pretty sick.
That must be so fun for you two to film together.
It's the best.
And then get home and like talk about clips and like
All
I
the
feel
time.
like everybody gets in their head and they're like, oh, I should try to be like this. But like Austin's spring-loaded feet down pillows is like, dude, that's all people want to see. Like,
Yeah.
you don't got to go switch back 12 double cork on him. Like, he could.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a battle there for him too, because like I've been telling him exactly what you were just saying forever. I'm like, we just want to see you float on the mountain, babe. Like,
Nobody else can
just
do it that way.
do a front three, please. It's so good. You know, like do that butter thing you do at the end of every, like, it's cool. It's like he also wants to like push himself. So he's like, yeah, I can do a front three and I can do this butter thing you're talking about, but I also want to do like a switchback 7 and I want to do a
Love him
cab
for
9
that.
and I want to do that. And you know, he doesn't just do whatever people want to see. He does what he wants to do. And I think that's very respectable. I love that about him.
I am a massive Austin Sweeten fan on and off the board. Amazing individual. We got a Patreon question here for you.
Nice.
From Jake Steen. He said, Robin, manifesting and visualization are frequently discussed these days. Have you ever used either of these techniques at either natural selection or in other areas of your life?
Oh, yeah. All the time. I would say mostly in snowboarding. But like manifestation or visualizing, like you think of, like on a smaller level, you could say you want to do like a cab 5. I always like picture myself doing it and like close my eyes and like make sure that I can see the grab and like the style and then I like picture the land. And then on a bigger level, you know, like I want to win a Transworld Award. I like pictured myself on the stage accepting the awards like years in advance because that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I
That's
was like,
fucking sick.
I want to stand on that stage and accept this award. And I do want to correct something you said at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I actually didn't win Rider of the Year 2 times. I won Women's Video Part of the Year
Oh,
2
okay.
times.
So-
Yeah. But,
Equally amazing.
you know, there's somebody out there who's like, actually,
I don't know. Both are pretty special.
I was
I'm sorry.
nominated for Rider of the Year 3 times, but I only got Video Part.
Hey, you gotta fact check everything these days,
Yeah.
people.
I was gonna say it at the beginning. I was like, I'll just let this one ride for a bit. Feels pretty good.
Oh yeah, I
yeah.
would have too.
Yeah. But yeah, I have used that quite a bit in my life. I always wanted to film with Travis because I thought he was, you know, this big thinker and amazing talent. And I was like, I want to be the first female to film with Travis Rice. And like, it's so weird to me that actually happened. Like everything in my career, I'm like, how did that happen? I don't even know. I just, I have no idea how any of this shit happened. I just like put my head down and had big dreams. And when people say like manifest this, it's like, yeah, but you're dreaming. Like have big dreams. You don't have to call it manifesting even. You just like have dreams and goals and like go towards it. Do the work. You know, it's like dream the dream, take steps towards that. That's all you can really do. And if it happens, great. Like some of my dreams didn't really realize and that's okay. But a lot of the big ones did. And I feel really grateful to snowboarding for letting me do that, giving me the opportunity to be there.
I need to get better at that. I really do. I feel like I sometimes visualize, sometimes manifest, but it's not in there enough where sometimes I feel like I have this like foggy vision for what's going to happen in the
Yeah.
nearest future. But like, if you don't have a target, then like, where are you going? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like people who visualize, it's just like, you kind of have an idea of where you're headed towards. And so you're like, I have an idea of what I'm going to need to do to head towards that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's like right now I'm trying to be like even where I want to live. Like I'm like, do I want to live in the Sea to Sky? Do I want to live in like Tofino, Yuki? Do I want to live in the Gulf Islands? Like, where do I? It's in somewhere around here, but I can't pinpoint it. And I'm like, figure it out, and then like be able, because then I can think about where I want to live, and then I'll head towards that. Like,
yeah.
And because I can't pinpoint that, I'm never gonna know where I'm gonna fucking live, man.
Well, you will though. Like,
where am I gonna live?
I don't know, Jody. I don't know where you're gonna live. Stop yelling at me.
I know. I'm sorry.
But I do feel like it's okay to not know too.
It's true.
You know, like there's a lot of things that I don't know what I'm gonna do. I just try stuff. You know, I've tried so many different like career paths within snowboarding and outside of snowboarding that I'm like, because I just don't know what I want to do. I have no idea what I'm doing. Like my whole life, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, how am I going to get there? I don't know. Like, nobody really knows what they're doing. You just kind of like do the thing, and then it adds up, and then you end up somewhere, you know? And then you're like, okay.
Okay, so what are you visualizing and what are you manifesting currently for yourself? Roughly.
For myself, I do really want to finish all my guiding certs. That's something I really want to do.
That's badass.
Yeah.
What does that entail?
It entails one course in August and one course in April, and that's it.
Can you do them
close.
online?
No.
Where do you have to go?
Blue River.
Okay.
For both of them. I just have to finish the Glacier Skills course and then my CSGA 2 exam, and then I can lead guide. I really want to do that.
Why do you want to be a lead guide?
I want to go first.
It's great snow.
I want to go first. No, I do want to lead guide. I don't feel like I'm in a rush to get there. I used to be in a rush. I'm not in a rush anymore. I'm like a little bit just like taking it day by day, and like, because to me, the being a really good guide requires like a lot of experience, and like I've been doing that. I've been like gaining the experience. So it's almost like the longer I wait, the better it's going to be in the end when I do become that. But I also have big dreams around our place in Yuki and like making that a business aside from snowboarding. We have this like boathouse that I really want to turn into like an event space, like for films and art shows and music. Yep. And we're like, we renovated it last year, Austin and I, and then we got married in it. Was our first event.
Wicked.
And then I recently hosted a film premiere for Nate Lav and Pete DeVries and Matea Olin, that crew, Reed Platenius.
A surf film?
A surf film.
Yeah.
How
was it?
It was awesome.
Really
it's
sick.
called Creatures of Habit. It is incredible. As like a cold water surfer, I'm a fan of whatever they're doing because they make it look so incredible. And it's so hard. They make it look easy. It's so hard.
Oh, I know. I get so frustrated surfing. And Tofino and Yuki's like this weird thing where everybody's like there's a standard. Everyone's like pretty good at surfing. And then there's the couple that are like super good.
Yeah.
And then there's people like me that come out there and just kneeboard in the whitewash towards the beach and just get a face full of sand.
Hey, whatever you
And
gotta
do. The last time I was surfing, I think like who was around? Sans Sloan, Noah Cohen, a bunch of people. This was years ago, and they're all like pretty, like they can like do the thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I didn't even know how to hold the board and the leash and stuff.
It was awesome.
I gotta buy a big foam soft top. That's my vibe.
Yeah, you need the wave rave.
What's the wave rave?
Like the foamy.
Yeah, that's my
Yeah.
vibe. Totally.
Yeah, wave rave.
How are you on the surf? Pretty good.
No. I mean, I can surf, but I'm by no means good, and I'm not trying to be pro. It's just something that I do for fun.
Is Austin good?
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's annoying
He's
like that.
pretty
He's kind of good at everything. But yeah, I don't know. I surf for fun. I get waves. It's great.
Is there anything you would like to see change in natural selection? I'll drag the conversation back there one time.
Yeah, let's do it. Yes. I would like there to be equal parts men and women competing on the tour.
Anything else?
If I'm going to be completely honest, I really would love to see the progression of the event itself. And I think they want this too, but to have a 3-stop tour and no duels. I feel like the duels are like great, but I love seeing the full event. That's like what I'm here for. I'm here for the full event. I love watching it. And like last year when I was just spectating, I loved watching it. And even I watched all the duels. Who am I kidding? I watched all of them. But I do feel like sometimes the terrain is it's trickier.
Lackluster.
Yeah. Like for instance, if you think about like Mary and like Red Mountain is great, but like, you know, they had some challenges in the terrain, and I don't feel like it brought out
Spencer.
Mary and Spencer. It didn't bring out the best in those riders. And I felt a little bit sad after that one. I was like, you know, like I know what Spencer can do and I know what Mary can do. And like that didn't really make them shine. They got through it, but like I would love to see them competing on the same terrain as like Revelstoke, like that level. You know, I love seeing that level of terrain. And those guys are probably going to kill me out.
Well, no, it's the truth. It's like if you were going around like looking for a good spot and you didn't find a good spot or a good zone on your sled, and you found a zone that was you wouldn't normally film on, but you're like, but we need to.
Yeah.
And then you film on it anyway, and then it gets put all over the TV besides some people who had like better locations and some people had worse. And so I personally think that, I like the dual idea. I think there's maybe a different way to kind of hit a home run with that. I definitely miss Jackson. I feel like that event was like pretty curated for like a freestyle natural selection stop, and then maybe one should be more line riding would be kind of cool. You know what I mean? Instead of like yeah. And the Wild Pillow one was crazy. What was your favorite location? What was your favorite stop?
Jackson.
Jackson
was like the pinnacle for me. Because I mean, of course I love Alaska and of course I love Baldface, but to me, Jackson was the pinnacle. It was so much fun. That course was just incredible.
I loved it.
It was the best. It was so good. And I was actually so heartbroken when Jackson wasn't a part of it anymore. And I actually like decided not to compete that year. I was like, I think I'm just going to take a year. I also wanted to like just not compete and go snowboard for myself. I felt like had a couple years where I was like really like just pushed myself to the limit, and I needed a year just to get back to my snowboarding and film. So I took a year off, but Jackson is so good.
Jackson to me, it had everything that you needed, and it was such a manicured, because it was their first kind of like baby, you know. Obviously there was a supernatural and ultranatural before that were at Baldface, but the Jackson one was like their first manicured like event. It was so like it had a little bit of everything. I think all the riders really liked it, and it didn't seem like, you know, as far as avalanches go too, it seemed like pretty safe everywhere. So like as long as it snowed, you're like pretty much guaranteed to have a good event.
Yeah. And the tour staff, like, you know, Liam and Travis and their crew, they're so good about making sure that we're like safe and in the know and have enough like materials to look at everything. Like it's really like the event is built out amazingly. And I do hope that it can get to a place where it's like a WSL. I'd love to see that happen. Yeah.
I want to see a reality TV show on it, and I want it to be shorter.
Oh yeah,
because it's like, you know, right now the recap video is like 5.5 hours long. Those duels are like it's pretty long. I don't know how to make that shorter, because backcountry snowboarding is just long and you need to do all the safety stuff and to do it live. I don't know if it edited what might make it better, but you kind of want to watch it live.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I think I would love to see, and I mean, I know it's hard because money pays for the event to happen, but less commercials, less filler, just the riding and the scores and the riders. Like I love how it's like very much like, I don't know, to me it's like it reflects snowboarding, and I hope it stays that way. You know, I would hate for it to get too big so that doesn't represent who we are as snowboarders. Do you know what I mean? The way that it's judged, the way that it's like represented online or like in the edits, you know, like I hope that it stays like small enough, but grows in, you know, views and like in that way, but that we can stay true to like snowboarding and who we are, I guess. Does that make sense?
Well, like you said at the beginning, your favorite thing about NST is you think that it's doing snowboarding proud. Like it's a good reflection of snowboarders. And we want it to be that and not go too far. Like, we'll do anything in order for like this sponsor to come on to save the tour. And then it falls apart because of that. Because they're doing a really good job of not doing that. But, you know, in these crazy times where it'd be pretty easy for somebody to pull out and be like, okay, we're not going to be in. That's $500,000. They're like, okay, well, we need that. And you get it from the wrong company. And then you have these even worse ad spaces or whatever. And then you're like, oh, this is too choppy and not flowing. I almost feel like it would be better to get all the footage, edit it, and have it come out in like I don't know if they could do that either because it's so much editing probably, but like condense the whole thing into like a 2-hour show top to bottom. Or maybe, I don't know, men and women's drops on different days. So you have like 1 full day women, 1 full day men. And then that way it's like shorter viewing time. Just because 5.5 hours, like I don't even care if you love the Super Bowl. That's a lot. Like that means you're taking a nap at one point. You have to use the washroom. Like you have to eat a meal. Like that is
walk the dog.
You gotta walk the dog. Like
yeah, I think that the way that the WSL does it is really cool. How they have those like heat highlights. So it's like I forget what it's called. Is it highlights or it's like
asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, but it's basically like these short. It's condensed heats, so they just take the best waves, and you don't have to watch the waiting. You don't watch like the waves that aren't good. You just get the highlights of that heat, and then like that's what I watch when I miss the live contest. I don't go back and watch the entire contest over, but I know some people do. But if that's available, but then you also have this condensed version, I feel like that could be great. But again, it's like all comes down to sponsor dollars.
Money.
You got to have money to be able to do that. And like putting a setup on a beach is one thing. Putting a setup in the backcountry, that's another.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's already amazing. It is like an amazing accomplishment for like humans to pull off this event. Not even because it's a snowboard event, but the fact that they can pull it off at all.
Yeah.
Especially the stop that was in Alaska. You're like, holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But that's what we're choosing to do with R&D is we're just going to make a 8 to 10 minute edit of the best footage and the best runs. And that's all there will be other than our super cool live feed on Instagram. And that's it.
Do you think there's ever going to be R&D for men? And then there's like, it's kind of like a grassroots like brand to like, I think that'd be kind of cool. Cause there's like you were saying about how like there's the top females and under them is like a layer that's unknown. I feel like that same layer is kind of getting hidden right now for men. There's like,
I couldn't agree more.
Some great talent down there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should spearhead that.
Well, what are you doing next year?
Hey, here we go. Let's go.
What are you doing?
How much time? How many hours are we talking here?
Well, I'll do some math and get back to you. I'm not as fast on the math as you, but I do. That was the original intent. I was like, this year, I want to support the women because they need support. They're the ones
200%
screaming for support. They need opportunity. So let's focus there. And then the goal for me was always to grow it this year into including guys also, because there is like I see, Bryn Alexander and like,
oh, the list goes on. Yeah,
BMO,
totally.
Blake Moeller and Keegan and like Mason Lemry. And I'm like, where are these guys? They could be smoking people on tour. And like even Blake, he won the Free Ride World Tour. Like I thought that was like you get in,
yeah,
so I was like waiting for that to happen. There is like this younger gen or like undercurrent. I don't even call it younger gen. They're just like that undercurrent. That's not like, at that sponsor level as the big dogs. They're not the big dogs. They're the medium dogs, but like, let's get some medium dogs, some opportunity too. But for now, the bandwidth that I have is for R&D to support the women. And I don't want to say I won't do that because I would love to do that. But I also need partners and I need help with that because I can't do it alone.
Regardless, it's just, whatever you're doing there is incredible.
Thank
and we
you.
thank you for doing that. It's more than enough. I'm not trying to bombard you with all these tasks and overwhelm you. And you're like, oh my God, now I need to get all like.
No, that's fine.
You need to breathe. You need to have a long summer.
I'm getting better at saying no.
That's a skill. That's
Yeah.
that's a very yeah.
Yeah, I actually messaged somebody this morning being like, hey, I don't think I can do this film project.
Yeah, it's gonna be a no
being
for
like,
me.
maybe, yes. And then thinking about it for 2 weeks and being like, no.
Nah, I'm out. What inspired you to be a guide?
Well, I was working in Argentina with South America Snow Sessions with like Skylar Holgate and Chris Coulter and Andrew Burns and
Legends.
all those cool guys and gals. And the lead guides, namely like Skylar and Coulter, they were like going, and Tony Plavlantos, he's part of that. They were going like back out and like riding these lines out the back that I really wanted to go do. But like I didn't know how to get there. And those guys, they were guides. So I was like, well, is that how I do it? I want to go ride that stuff. And like I was working, so they couldn't like take me with them. And obviously it's really hard to break into like get people to take you out to ride complex terrain when you're not exactly experienced, because it's a liability when you're not on it, or you don't know, or it's your first time. So I literally looked at what they were able to do and I was like, I want to ride that kind of terrain. And they are able to ride that kind of terrain because they know about it. And they know how to like mitigate that like safety risk, and they know how to ride it because they've got mileage. So I thought the best way for me to learn to get on that kind of terrain, which is what I ultimately wanted, was to become a guide. So I actually went and became a guide just so I could go ride lines. So, and in doing that, the learning portion of it all was so interesting for me. It was so exciting. I just felt like I was like growing and learning so much so quick. And I was really humbled really fast. You know, it was like you thought you knew something, you did not. When I actually got into it, I was like, whoa, I know nothing.
What do you take? What kind of skills do you need to be a guide?
I mean, there's
Like
a lot.
ropes and then first aid.
Yeah, first aid is a big one. Ropes is a big one. Avalanche knowledge, like the physics of it, how it works, like what goes into it, the chemistry, that like everything, like the anatomy of the mountain, basically how it moves, because
Cool.
like everything is moving all the time on the mountain and it's quite unpredictable. So there's, you know, the really cool thing about avalanche work is that it's quite mysterious. Even now, we can like make great guesses with data to back up decision making, but you can never know for sure, right? You can't like say this is what it's going to do at this time. So there's like an element of mystery, and it's kind of like decoding the mystery, which is like really fun. I went to university and I enjoy learning. And so when I started down that path, I was like, oh, this is like fun to like decode what's going on with the weather and all of like the inputs. I think one thing about being a good guide is being good with people too. You really need to be good at communication and with people, and you need to leave that ego in the back pocket. So, but it can also be like quite a masculine world at times.
Has there ever been people that have like brought in an energy and a personality to a group of people? You're guiding them, and you're like, you're not coming out. Like maybe they've been drinking, maybe they have a bad attitude, maybe they don't seem to care enough about the people around them. Have you ever had to like shut somebody down from going out?
I have. I had somebody who didn't have a beacon, and it wasn't. To this day, I think about it because it wasn't necessarily that crazy of terrain, and probably was fine. But everything's always fine until it isn't. And it sets a precedent in your crew that it's not okay to show up without the very basic shit. Like you just got to have the very basic stuff. We can help you like, you know, learn to use it. There's some things that you can leave behind. The couple things that you can't they're kind of non-negotiables. And I did have a photographer on a trip in Italy just be like, yeah, I don't have a beacon today. And I was like, you can't come. And it wasn't even my trip. I kind of just was like, yeah, no, and I felt really bad at the time. I was like, am I being a total jerk? But then I was like, no, it's kind of one of those things where like, he'll never do it again. It was more for our safety as a crew. I was like, it's just not, I can't. I can't have one person on our crew without a beacon. Like, you just got to have the basic things.
Like you said, non-negotiable. You got to draw the line somewhere, and that's where anybody who's going into the backcountry should draw the line. Is like beacon, probe, shovel. Come on.
You just got to have it.
Yeah.
And like, you need to learn how to use it too.
Have you ever had to deal with an Avi while you've been guiding?
Yeah. Yeah. Not super heavy one. It was, but like, again, things are always fine until they're not. I actually,
I like that.
was on a run at Baldface with Estelle Pensiero, and we were riding this run called Hotter Than Hell, and she went halfway down and kicked off, like, I don't know, probably ran like 40 meters, which is, in the trees, which something of that size in a big open, and it wasn't that deep. It was like, maybe 3/4 of a foot, like this, like 30 cms. But in the trees, it's much more dangerous. And she was like buried up to her waist. It wasn't like that big of a deal. And it wasn't, but it was definitely a wake up call for me, because I was like, oh yeah, even the little ones, they matter, because like you ping pong through trees with the boss's daughter. Like, big deal. You can do a lot of damage with a smaller avalanche in that kind of terrain. So yeah, that was a big one. I assisted on avalanche rescue in Argentina, which was like one of the catalysts for me to go get my guiding certifications and get more training in the backcountry. There was a kid named Randall who was buried for, I think, like over 2 minutes. Or I think it was longer than that.
Did he live?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He actually became a guide himself for like quite a long period of time. I'm not sure where he is now, but I know that he moved on from snowboarding and guiding after he had some friends die in the mountains with him. So, yeah, but
not everybody deals with that kind of trauma the same. Some people, I feel like, are just out. They deal with something like that in the mountains. They lose somebody and they're like shook and they're like, no more.
Yeah, and that's totally fine.
Totally. And some people are like, no, like, I'm fine being in the mountains. There's always going to be that risk.
Yeah.
Maybe speak on that, actually. Like, how do you manage risk in the mountains?
Well, for one, getting the training and the skills to be there.
Good starting point.
And then to me, if like the avalanche conditions and the weather is the question mark, the terrain is always the answer. So when there's a question of like, will it go, will it not go, what's going to go, how deep, whatever, terrain is always the answer. You can always downgrade the terrain to have a really fun run and find something you can still film on. On a super, high avalanche day, there's always something that you can find to film on. It may not be what you had in mind, but you can always do something. You can always ride something super mellow and go home. To me, it's about longevity. I want to have a nice long career in the mountains. The other part of wanting to become a guide is shredding sick pow till the day I die. And I need to be alive to be able to do that. And I want my friends to be alive too. I want all of us to have that like great experience. And I think if you can adjust the terrain and your expectations around your avalanche problem and your weather, then you can have that. Does that make sense?
Totally. No, you landed that plane nicely.
Okay.
I wanted to ask and see if you'd be down to share what you spoke on at Baldface. You did that case study.
Yeah.
I know that's a long story, but I was wondering if you could just kind of summarize it, because I remember you sharing that and there was some big takeaways.
I'm trying to remember what it was. I did.
You were riding it was like a big gnarly line.
Oh, that. Yeah, that was Plinth. It's here.
Yes, it was in Pemberton.
Yeah,
or something.
it's in Pemberton. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I remember now. You're like, you did that. Yeah, it was in Continuum actually. The bottom half of it was used as a clip, but yeah. Do you want the whole case study or just like a...
Where are we at here?
Yeah.
Just a summary about maybe like the line choice, maybe any mistakes or any learning lessons you had from that, and what just kind of the takeaway was that day.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway. So what happened was I was on a Arctic shoot. We went out searching for snow. There wasn't a ton of faces that had it. And we were working with the guide, and he said, yeah, let's just go out, start on something, ramp up through the day. And then like, you know, and I'm with Sam Cooch, who's like, you know, he can ride anything. That guy's a beast. And knowing that I had two people in the heli, being me and him, who like were quite competent at riding like bigger lines. We went out, and immediately, like first thing in the morning, we saw this huge face, and we're like, whoa, we can get on that. But it was like, you know, really early in the day, but it was like the pinnacle thing, but it loses light, right? So there's all these factors around like, well, we're shooting and it has light now, and I know we haven't like worked our way up, but like it has light now, and maybe if we do some tests, we can like get up there, you know. And we kind of like jumped the gun a little bit, and we got on top with the guide, did some, you know, pits and like tested around the zone, and we did a warm-up lap on a similar aspect, not the same aspect, but a similar aspect. And the guide was like, yeah, we can get you up there. So we got up there, and Sam went first, and he radioed back to me, and he was like, yeah, I mean, the slough's running pretty quick, but like, you know, should be fine. It was all right. It was really sick. And he was like super pumped, jazzed, you know. And I was like, okay. And then I looked at this line, and I was like, yeah, I can piece it together. I can do this part and then shoot over here. There's a bunch of exposure there, but I can like get over and then ride down. And I dropped in, took a few turns, and the slough was running so fast. Like, I was like, whoa. And as I'm going, I know that the slough is going to take me out, and there's exposure below it. So I kind of pull up on this like safe spot, and the slough actually gains enough momentum that it hits that exposure piece. And right above the exposure, it kicked off like a huge wind slab avalanche, about like, I would say 2 feet deep, over a cliff.
This thing is beast, for the record. If you're listening to the audio, like this thing is like a huge big boy line. I wouldn't be caught dead on that thing. That thing is insane.
Yeah, but also like at the time, I was like, I can do this. I felt confident.
Totally.
You know, I was like, I can do this. But also sometimes you're overconfident.
But you want to push your riding.
That's
part of the thing.
Yeah. So yeah, that avalanche happened, and then I was stuck. I was like stuck standing in the hang fire above this huge piece of exposure. And the only way out for me was to like get across 2 spines and then start the line again. And like, I was just so in shock. I was like, whoa, like I just got myself so fucked up. Like,
was that the most terrified you've ever been?
No. I don't think I was actually fairly calm in the moment. It's funny what happens when those things, it's like all that training that I've done through like guiding and, you know, riding in Alaska. I was just like, okay, like the brain is calm. It's like, you know what to do, you know what your options are, and you run through your list. You're like, you know, where's the danger? How do I get out? What are my options? You know, let's make some comms with the people. Let them know I'm okay. Let them, you know, and all the things, you know, I'm radioing, and I'm like, hey, there's only one way out. So anyway, I like ended up being like, I'm just going to have to power over these 2 spines really fast and hope that hang fire doesn't go, because like that was literally my only option. So I just powered over the 2 and like rode out. But I think, and everything was fine in the end. You know, I was fine, but I wasn't fine. It was such a humbling moment because I got overconfident and I forgot my checklist, and I didn't go through all the human factors that went into that riding a line like that. Like so many inputs, like you got your film crew, there's pressure there, not crazy pressure, but you know, they're there, and the cameras are on, and somebody's paying for you to be in this heli. And the guide has said like, okay, I'm kind of comfortable with that. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm super confident, you know? And then it was almost like I was overconfident, and I missed a few things, like thinking through if this, then that, you know? And I I really scared the shit out of the guide. I ruined his day 2 times that day, you know, and I think the biggest takeaway is that it's not about you and your cool line because everybody who's out there with you is affected. And thinking about how I risked the career possibly of that guide to like do this line because I was feeling overconfident and I skipped and ignored what he had said in the first part of the day, which was, you know, let's ramp up slowly. And I have in the past like pushed guides pretty hard using like in a super tricky way where I use like what I've learned in guiding to push, and I use all the verbiage and I, you know, like in kind of a manipulative way, if I'm going to be completely honest. I've done it multiple times where I'm like, if they trust me, then I can like go a little bit further. And I kind of misused that trust. I didn't like respect it. And I, to this day, feel so terrible that I did that to that guy. At the end of the day, he told me that was his worst day of guiding in 20 years. And I was like, And like, if anything had happened, you know, like thinking about what him and that helicopter company and the brand who had me out there and the filmers on scene, what would have happened, like what the fallout would have been. And we don't think about that often. We're just like, yeah, I'm going to ride this stick line. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be a clip, you know, but we don't think about, you know, what if it goes sideways and something happens, you know? And so it was a bit of a wake up call for me. And it's so great to get spanked like that so late in your career when you think you are, you know, you're like, oh, I've got this experience and like, I've done all this training. And like, you can still get spanked even when you do all the things and think through everything, you're bound to slip up. So.
And there's also, sometimes I feel like when there is a guide and a filmer and everything like that, especially for me with a guide that says, yeah, like, okay, like you can ride it. Mm-hmm. I kind of get like this false sense of security. I'm like, okay, like, yeah, game on. Like, if not even something bad happens, like I can get out of here. But that's kind of a bad approach, at least in my head, that I've realized. I'm like, I shouldn't really do that. I also do this thing where if I was riding with you, for example, and I went out with you and Elena and you guys ride line, I would literally do, I'm imagining, I would try to say I wouldn't do this, but I am like this and I wish I wasn't. I like give people the expert halo, especially if it's their terrain. Like if we're in Alaska and somebody lives in Alaska, I'm like, that's the expert. Like he knows how to get us around. It's like, maybe speak on what expert halo is and like maybe when that's beneficial and maybe when it's not, because that term gets tossed around a lot. And I
don't want to butcher it, but I'm going to do my best to make, because I can't remember exactly what the definition is, but it's basically like, you know, if you go, and I'll use an example. So say you go out with Devin Walsh in the Whistler backcountry 15 years ago. You're pretty much going to do whatever he says. And he's like, yeah, this is totally a safe thing for us to go up. You're going to be like, great, Devin. Brap.
Whatever you say.
Exactly. Yeah. But that's exactly it. It's kind of whatever you say, because you have this, you're like looking up to this person, you know, and you're trusting them because of what they've done in the past. But there is a piece there where you need to have your own opinions and your own beta. You need to be prepared for the day with your own information so that you don't lean on other people, because even the experts get spanked. So that's kind of what the expert halo is.
As a guide, do you like when maybe people that are more beginner, intermediate speak up, or do you feel like their voice is irrelevant in conversations and moving through the mountains?
I love it. I love it having other people chime in and ask questions and like say like, I don't feel good on this. Like, because you're really only as strong as your weakest link. And not that that's a weak link, but it's more like, you're out there as a team. And so if your team is strong, the further you can go, the more you can do. And if you're like acting in a condescending way, then like your team's not going to instill like trust in you, and they're not going to ask questions, and they're not going to like try and learn. And I really love it when people are like, but what about this? Or like, but what about that? And like, when we say when I'm guiding, typically in the last, 3-4 years, I haven't been guiding a heck of a lot. Like I show up to I do 1 or 2 shifts at Baldface, and then I'm off snowboarding. So when people say like, oh, you're a guide, I'm like, yeah, I'm a guide. I'm working towards being a guide, and I like do that sometimes. But like, in the last 5 years, I just wanted to clarify, I haven't been guiding a heck of a lot because I've just been so busy with snowboarding. But that's a side note. But I do love it when people ask questions or give their own opinions, because it just shows me that they care to be involved in the conversation, and you always have something to learn. Having more eyes is better because you can't know everything.
And I feel like a lot of times when you're out there moving through the mountain, even the expert occasionally is like, oh, I wasn't really looking at that convex roll that's sitting in the sun with a bunch of hot rocks. And you're like I just wasn't, because I'm mesmerized by this feature I'm about to ride or whatever. Yeah, definitely speaking up is something. You can do it too much where you almost don't want to be. I've done this in the past. I speak up too much with too many concerns, but then when you bring up concerns, they don't have the same impact, where it's like, bring up a concern when you have one, not when you're just kind of like bringing up stuff that isn't really going to be a concern.
Yeah.
Or else you're just kind of stressing everybody out for no reason. And I was like a hyper stressed out person. I feel like I got in a couple hairy pickles early on, a couple situations that were kind of spicy. One little avalanche and Brandywine, and then I just became like hyper. I was just like scared. I was just spooked. So I'm just like, what about this? What about that? What about that? And everyone's like, we're in a valley eating lunch. We're fine. Like, there's no avalanche.
But what if?
But what if it comes through and it goes through all the trees? It could be a class 4.
Yeah, could be. Never know.
Be. And
anything can happen.
Everyone's like, well, we're willing to accept that risk and eat lunch here.
Yeah.
But as a group, you need to accept the risk as like a group, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's more what I wanted to get at, was like, when you saying like, oh, when you're guiding, to me, that's like me leading other people, which that isn't necessarily the case all the time. I'm with a collaborative group of people, and we're always talking and communicating about the avalanche problem, right? So we're always like talking about like, oh, what about this slope, and what's the problem, what's the aspect, and we're kind of like open conversation, which is key. Like, just communicating with your crew is paramount. And I think if you go out there and there's a communication breakdown, that's when things happen, because you're not really talking about what you're doing and who's doing what, and people are getting lost on the mountain, and then you're like, whoa, what happened? And that's happened to me many times, even with like absolute experts in the field. Like, I've been out with another like heavily trained avalanche friend, and she broke off a cornice, and I had no idea, because I didn't even know where she was. And then all of a sudden I'm getting all these comms on the radio, and I'm like, what? And just because we were all scattered and we weren't really like communicating and acting as like a team, and when you don't know where people are or where they're going, and that part is lost, you're like, oh, like, anything can happen.
Yeah, communication is key. Who do you like going in the mountains with? Now that you've been out there so long, obviously you want to be out there with people that you can communicate well with. Mm-hmm. Who are some of your favorite individuals to be in the mountains with?
Number one person I love to be in the mountains with is Austin. For not just because we're in a relationship, but I love snowboarding with him. We have really good rapport. We work really well as a team. It's fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love of your life and your favorite person to snowboard with.
Yeah. I love going out with Michelle Parker. I love going out with Elena Height. I love going out with Leanne Pelosi, with Hannah Beeman, with Marie France, Spencer O'Brien, Marissa Krozak, Zoe Vernon, Jackie Schaefer, Mary Rand.
Damn.
There's so many like
heavy,
like really like experienced females. I'm so proud of like the community and snowboarding that we have, and like it's pretty unique. And I definitely missed some people that are going to be like, wow, thanks. Tatum. I love going out with Tatum.
That's a good group of females right there.
Yeah.
All certified. A bunch of those are legends too that I've looked up to for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe speak on what motivates you now, what keeps you inspired. You know, burnout is real.
What motivates me now? I mean, good question. I'm like,
What does motivate me?
I know, I'm like, what is the meaning of life? Yeah, what keeps me inspired? Honestly, I just feel really like lucky to be a part of snowboarding in its current state. I'm so like happy that I'm still here. I can't believe that I'm still here. And I love being a part of it. I love the culture part, but I also just love ripping the resort. I love it so much.
Let me ask you this. Was there ever a point where you wanted to quit? Like, you took that one off year? Was there ever a low point in snowboarding where like, I'm done?
No.
Sweet.
Even when I had a full sponsorless year, I was like, I'll do whatever I can to get through because I'm like a snowboarder through and through. I'll always do it. Kind of a lifer in that sense. I don't know if I'll be a lifer pro. I'm not aiming for that, but I am aiming to, be in the mountains for a long time. And I like being part of the community. I love the snowboard community. I think that's a big motivator for me, is just staying a part of it. It's given so much to me, like opportunities, travel, like the life I've lived. I'm just like every day, like, what the hell? This has been really, really great. And I love it. I want to keep doing it. It'll change over time, but I think that's what motivates me, is finding new ways to evolve in my own craft. Like, I think that's really inspiring and motivating, is like, how can I change the game for myself? And like where am I going to go? How am I going to grow? And it's kind of cool because like, I always want to be like changing and doing new things. And there's been a lot of growing points. I love switching up the scenario, whether it's like me living in Whistler for 17 years and then moving to Baker and having a whole new set of goals and dreams there. I don't go back to my regular ass runs and back to the spots I've filmed for a million times. I'm finding new things. I love finding, like, exploring. I guess that's another thing. I love exploring new terrain and new places. And that's a huge motivator for me always.
Maybe what's one piece of advice you would have to a young Robin who's sponsorless, who just loves it and wants to take a shot at it?
I'd say like commitment. It's like, if you want to do it, you can. And to not like, I don't know. So it's hard to say it without like sounding like a
cheese ball.
But to me, it's about like loving what you do and following like your inner compass to do that, and committing to that, and not like breaking that path for yourself.
Totally. The commitment aspect is huge. When you look at people that make it, it's just like like you said, like I asked you there, like, was there ever a point where you wanted to quit and you pause and you're like, no.
Yeah.
Like there was probably doubt or whatever and some tough times. But I feel like the same way. Like my biggest injuries, there's never a point that I was like, I want this to be like, I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
It was like that intro of JP Walker, who's like, broke his jaw. I think it was like Shakedown. And then he was just basically, it's just like, for a second, I thought I wanted to quit snowboarding. And then I thought to myself, how I can never think like that again.
Yeah.
It's just like, it just doesn't cross our minds. I think that most people that find their passion in life are never willing to let go of that.
Yeah.
But fuck, I don't know if lots of people are going to be fortunate like we are, where you find snowboarding and it's like your everything. And that's like with events that you do, and hopefully things like what we're doing with the podcast here is like, once you start to snowboard, once you get involved in snowboarding because you love snowboarding, there's everything else to do with snowboarding is what makes it so magical.
Yeah.
It's like you were saying, you want to give back because you love the community and stuff. It's like the people, the places you get to see, the fact that you do it and you're in nature, the fact that like if you go somewhere you've never been, there's like this element of exploration, which is completely fascinating to any human because it's exciting. There's so many layers to why snowboarding is incredible. So buy a snowboard today and get
Yeah.
out there in the mountains.
And go all in with your whole heart. Yeah.
It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
What's next for you?
Oh, I never know. I don't know, Jody. You tell me what's next for me.
Well, I think that you should put some decent amount of energy into the research and development. You should finish those 2 courses with your guiding.
Okay.
You should get that little event space made and finished with Austin. I think you should continue. I definitely think that where you're at is like anyone that's near our age, 35 to 45, you start to go like, oh, like I should do other things. I think one thing that a lot of the best snowboarders that I've seen is that as long as you want it, you can do it for a long time and at a high level and do it in a way that's still very inspiring. So I'm still really hoping we see many more Robin parts riding Big Mountain. And I would also like to see maybe like, I don't know, like you, Austin, and a handful of other people in a project together again. Like,
That's been the Austin dream for a while. He's like, I think we need to actually make like a
I think it'd be really
film."
cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think like you guys did depth perception. It was cool. Took some time off. But I think that there's a way to curate a film. I mean, I love the way Lucy puts things together, but maybe like
he's
Lucy
just-
mixed with somebody else.
He's the best.
And you come up with like this high, and that could be something that's never been done, and it would make it really exciting.
That's true.
It is that
Yeah.
that. Hey, now that we're talking about it, you guys are in love.
Yeah.
You guys film together. You guys are both pro snowboarders. You
Yeah.
both have some support, and it would be an inspiring film. I think
would-
this should be a Netflix fucking documentary.
Oh yeah, you're hired.
There we go.
Director. I'm like, you got this, Jody. Yeah, I would love to see that happen. But for now, I love the first 3 things you said because it's always good to get, somebody who's interviewed you and then you ask them, like, oh, like in hindsight, when you listen to it, you're like, oh yeah, that is what I should do. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you should just keep doing. Oh, fuck, keep doing you.
And I'm gonna film for Full Moon 2.0.
Oh, they're doing another project?
Oh yeah,
No way.
yeah.
I want to have a clip in that.
You should. We need a token dude.
Yeah, I'm
We
down.
tried to have a token dude in the first one. I think we invited Travis up to Alaska and he was like, yeah, maybe.
I'll just, if you and people want to take me out, I'm down to just go. And
Okay.
I'll film like a couple slashes and stuff. Shoot
we
photos,
definitely
couple jokes.
need some token dudes in there.
I'm down.
Yeah.
For the stress of life, because life is wild. Here's a Scandinavian.
No,
bath
really?
pass.
I love the Scandinav.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Thanks,
I know that
Jody.
you were very busy today, but I appreciate you setting aside some time for coming on the podcast. So enjoy those.
Thank
and
you.
Now you can grab a pair of those Skull Candy headphones.
You.
And
Stage is
I
getting
will
better.
I will ask you 10 quick questions presented by Skull Candy, and we will get you back to the island so you
Okay.
can go surfing.
All right.
Number 1, best style currently and back in the day.
Kokomo Marase. Best style. There were so many good. I think Jamie Anderson does have my favorite style.
I am
And then I
such
love
a fan,
Kokomo
too.
more recently. I'm like, I love, and Haley. But I did an extra one. For guys, style wise, God, there's so many. I love watching Blake Paul. I think he's got really good style from back in the day. I was always a big Cale Stevens fan, actually.
fucking right.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Just like the way that he was like,
Raw.
yeah, he was.
Gnarly.
And he landed with like authority. Everything he did was like huge. No, and like in control and then like stop like crazy. It was so cool. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, I love Cale Stevens. That guy is amazing. Good shout outs there. Career highlight.
Oh. I think winning NST was a big one for me.
Was there a low that followed that? Like, did you win and then you would like
Oh yeah.
touch on that for a second?
Ooh.
Like, what? Why do you think there was a low that followed?
Yeah, well, I mean, This is a hard one, but I think it's good to be honest about it. I do feel that, you know, I felt a lot of love and support from the industry in general. But I did feel I felt like a target. And not only from people, like I felt like a target, and that people were like shooting darts at me. And people who were close to me. And it was like really...
What do you mean by shooting darts?
Like, there's like always people who talk shit.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, you talk shit about the things you care about. And I did feel at one point fairly unsupported by people who were close to me. And that was like really hurtful.
Oh, about the win?
Mm-hmm.
Like they were like, oh, it could have gone to that other person?
Like people who will poke holes in it.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
and be like, well, you weren't supposed to be there in the first place, or like this and that, or we thought Zoe should have won, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's like at the end of the day, I was just there doing my personal best, and that was all. So, and it happens to everybody, you know, like there's always people poking holes, and I think I took it personally, and that was my own fault. But there was a low point for me after where I felt so much love. And then kind of like this other part where I really felt like I was a target. And I felt like the next year, my only goal was to podium at Jackson, just to prove that I deserved to be there. And when that happened and I came second, I have never been like, that was the most exciting podium for me. Coming in second was almost better than winning, because it was like, I was able to be like, okay, now I have proved myself, which is like so crazy to have to do, or feel like you have to do it. But in that moment, I was like, you know, insecure, and I felt like I needed to prove all the people who, not all of them, but the people who were poking holes in it, that I deserved to be there. And so that to me was like sealing the deal. I was like, boom, done. Second place. I love it. And you're not a target when you're in second. I love second place.
I mean, now judging the last couple natural selections, and I see how the judging goes. You have 5 judges. People go in different ways. You also have there's so many layers to that whole judging thing, that if somebody does win and you think that person like should have got second, should have got third, that environment, the last thing people should be worried about is like, that's how the judging went. We're all here for each other. That just, it's over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you telling somebody in that community, in that space, like, oh, like, I think it should have went this way. What's that going to do? Like, you can't go back and redo it.
No.
That's only going to make that person feel like, oh, thanks for like the weird backhanded compliment you just kind of gave me for winning, but you think somebody else should have won. And it's like, well, that's not what happened. I actually won. And we have a panel of judges who watched, who gave it to me. It's like, give that person the props they deserve.
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely, I don't know. I just get frustrated with it now, just being a judge, and kind of, you know, you get some backlash on some of the judges and judging that we do. And sometimes we deserve it. But sometimes you're like, well, that's not how it went, and can you just be happy for X, Y, and Z's? Just because
that's just the way it goes in competing.
that is part of competition. It's part of
it.
Perfectly said.
And you need to be there and watching it to be able to pass judgment. And like everybody is going to, and we kind of spiraled down, but and it happens to everyone. I've been on both sides of it, where I've been like, oh, you got robbed, or, oh, maybe you shouldn't have got that high score. Maybe you shouldn't have beat that person. So I've been on both sides, and sometimes it's just part of it. And whether you choose to take it personally or not is up to you. And in that moment, I took it personally and had a bit of a low point, but I climbed out of that hole, and now I'm totally cool with everything that happened, because I know I did deserve to be there. so there.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And congratulations on your win.
Okay, it's all good.
No, but like, I don't know. Yeah. All right. Favorite place you've ever traveled?
Ooh. Argentina really has a special place in my heart.
Why? Because the wine?
No, it's just the whole culture there is amazing. Like the people, the terrain, The snowboarding's really great, but I love it down there. It's really cool. It's very unique.
Burns was telling me that there was a bunch of nice meat kind of platters that you get there.
Oh,
He
yeah.
said the wine's good, the meat's good,
The meat is insane.
and I love meat, so I might have to go to Argentina.
You got to go. I actually over meated it one year and didn't eat meat. Didn't eat red meat for like 5 years.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good.
Favorite shot of Austin?
It was the front 7 on the Beast.
The front 7 off the step down with the avalanche?
Yeah, that was one of my favorite clips of him. Like he comes in off the top, like so confident, does that little like 360 butter, and then just like, brah, and then lands, and then like avalanche. Like the whole shot is just like one surprise after the other.
Well said. Yes. Most underrated rider.
I do feel like Brent Alexander is really underrated.
Underrated in the support realm
Big
for how
time.
good he is.
Yep.
He could-
For the women, I would say I actually think Marissa Krozak is pretty underrated. Yeah.
Favorite rail rider.
Maria Thompson.
Good pick. Maria's the GOAT. I love Maria Thompson.
Yeah.
I hope she heals. I hope Maria gets fully healed proper and can join NSD because I feel like she could ATV it pretty good. She's an exceptional snowboarder.
Contender for sure.
One area of your life you would like to work on.
I would like to be more patient.
Good pick. One thing left on your bucket list because you've done a lot, because you've accomplished a lot. Congratulations. Pat yourself on the back.
Thank you. I really want to drive from South America to Alaska with Austin in a van.
Summer or winter?
Both.
Like through the whole thing?
2 years.
When do you think? 3 years? 5 years? 10 years? When do you want to do it?
I don't know. We've been talking about it for a long time. But
That could be the movie!
That could be the movie.
That could be the movie.
Let's do the movie.
We're making a movie.
Okay, start writing.
Airtime presents Austin and Robin do what John Jay and Eric did a long time ago.
Lovers on the Run.
Totally. That was good. That was quick. All right, who's the GOAT?
There isn't one.
Oh, you got the Dano answer. I like it.
Is the Dano
Dano
answer
said
that-
the same thing. He said there isn't one.
Well, I just feel like there's different goats for different facets of snowboarding.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, like there's the contest goat, Jamie Anderson, of course. And there's like current goat, past like legendary goat.
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's different goats. Like there's backcountry goat, rail goat. You can't put backcountry and urban to me together. They're separate, and I really want to see Slush the magazine separate those two categories when we do Rider of the Year, or Performance of the Year, or Video Clip of the Year, because they're so different.
What if you're an ATV?
ATV of the Year.
Oh shit, that was quick. You're good. You're good.
I don't know.
ATV of the year.
ATV award.
Hey, we'll do
do
Airtime Awards again next year, and they'll be just like less credited because instead of who works at Slush right now? Stan, Mark Cleveland, Pat Bridges,
Katie Kennedy,
Katie. They have a good crew over there.
and Bob Plum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Justin Meyer, I think, works there too.
Okay. Yeah, they're
They have
great.
a good crew.
I like Slush.
Yeah, me too. I like all the mags, man.
Yeah, I like Snowboard Journal.
Snowboard Journal's amazing.
I love that mag. It's so pretty.
Method mag.
Torment is so nice. Like
The
just
mag.
the
Ollie
mag's
does
really
a good
nice.
job.
I have emailed those guys so many times and never gotten a response. I'm like,
What do you
"God
mean
damn,
email
I
them?"
really want to be in your mag. Like
They ghost you?
I can't get in it. I can't even get an
Torment, you're
email.
ghosted.
I emailed them about R&D. Nothing. Dead airspace. I'm like, come on, you
One of the
guys.
best female backcountry riders of all time. No, just that they don't even respond.
That's okay.
They're
I'm
like,
an old
they're like,
head.
"We're a
That's
rail
not what
rider."
they're doing. You know, they're
I'm
not
an
doing old
too.
head stuff.
I'm an old head too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the artistry that goes into that mag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for your last 20 years of dedication. Thank you for giving back to the snowboard community in a very tasteful way. Who sponsors research and development, because they don't sponsor the show probably, but we should give them a shout out because brands like that deserve to get a pat on the back, because
Yes.
getting behind events like that is amazing.
Thank you for that space to thank the sponsors. We definitely couldn't have done it without them. Mega props. Thank you. Yeti, Arc'teryx, Jones, A New Earth Project, Burton, and Whitewater. And
They don't sponsor the show, but we're giving them a platform anyway because events like
and
Robin's.
Sierra Nevada
Oh, great beers.
Brewing. I almost missed one. I was like, and Tribute Board Shop.
Hey, we're looking for a beverage sponsor for the show right now.
Yeah, Sierra Nevada.
Sierra Nevada, let's go.
Let's go. Let's get these guys hooked up. Thanks
yeah.
for having me, Joey.
Thanks again.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was amazing. Thanks again.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye.
The Airtime Podcast is presented by Van Shoes since 1966.
There's nothing fake about it. Have something to believe in and be yourself. You know what I'm saying?